Chapter 221. The First Stage. When the light fades, the world slams back into focus. The Ash Edge clan materializes in the middle of a dense, sprawling forest, tall trees rising high overhead, their canopies blocking much of the midday sun. Mist coils low along the ground. The air is damp and heavy, filled with the hum of unseen insects and the distant calls of beasts. For a heartbeat, no one moves. Then Valira's voice cuts through the silence, sharp and immediate. "Salvin. Scout." Salvin doesn't hesitate. He nods once, adjusting the fastenings on his wrist blade as he steps lightly forward. "On it. I'll circle wide, stay within range," he says, already melting into the trees. Valira turns to the others. "Form up. Defensive triangle. Carnessa, back left. Gressrin, cover the right. Alex, with me up front." They move without question, settling into formation as the sounds of the forest begin to filter in rustling branches, the distant thud of something heavy moving through brush, and the occasional blood-chilling shriek of a hunting call. Alex takes his place beside Valira, eyes scanning the undergrowth. "Judging by the air, we're near water," he mutters. "Beasts might gather there." Valira nods. "We won't move until Salvin returns with a reed. We engage only after he returns." Gressrin shifts his grip on his weapon. "I don't like sitting still. We should hit early and hit hard." "We hit blind and we'll bleed for it," Valira replies curtly. "We play it smart." Alex stands quietly at the front beside Valira, his gaze drifting through the trees, but his expression remains unreadable. In truth, he already senses them, at least 6 beasts, moving in a loose pattern northeast of their position. They're not small either, judging by the weight of their presence, mid to high tier 3 at least. One of them, stronger, but he says nothing. Valira glances his way. "You catch anything?" she asks, voice low. Alex meets her eyes and shrugs slightly. "Just echoes. Could be wind. Could be something watching." Valira nods. She accepts the answer. "Stay sharp. Salvin should be back soon." Footsteps. Quiet, fast, and deliberate. Only someone used to the forest could hear them. Alex already knows it's Salvin, returning through the trees like a shadow slipping between light. Moments later, Salvin emerges from the mist, crouching low as he steps past a fallen trunk and into view. There's no sign of injury, but a thin layer of sweat beads along his brow. "Found something," he says, voice low but steady. "Southwest ridge. Not too far. A lone beast, tier 5, I'm sure of it. Big, armored, slow mover. Might be nesting near a stream." Valira straightens slightly. "Any signs of other groups nearby?" "None that I saw," Salvin says. "But it was loud enough that others might have heard it too. We'll have a short window." Gressrin's face lights up. "Finally. Let's go bag it before some other jackass does." Valira nods once. "Good work. We move now." She turns to the others. Same formation but tighter. Salvin eyes up. "If anyone else is moving on it, I want to know before they're in range." Salvin gives a quick nod. "Got it." Gressrin's already rolling his shoulders. "Tier 5's a good start. Enough points to put us ahead early, and a solid warm-up." Alex says nothing, but his gaze shifts subtly toward the southwest. He can still sense the beast, massive, breathing slow, but aware. Definitely not sleeping, and definitely not alone anymore. The trees thin as they approach the ridge. Mist clings low to the ground, curling around roots and broken stones like living fingers. Then they hear it, a heavy exhale, followed by the scrape of armored scales against rock. The tier 5 beast stands near the stream just as Salvin described. It's huge, easily 12 feet tall at the shoulder, its body covered in jagged, dark green plating. For legs, low and wide like a predatory turtle, but with a snout more like a drake. Its glowing eyes scan the treeline. It hasn't seen them yet. Valira raises her hand. "Halt." The group crouches low behind a moss-covered ridge. The beast looms ahead, half submerged in the stream, its jaws snapping lazily at the water. Every movement of its limbs sends tremors through the muddy ground. Even from here, its power is obvious. A shellback lurker, Valira whispers, eyes narrowing. Armored hide, thick scales, slow but dangerous. Weak points underneath. Throat and underbelly. Salvan adjusts the twin blades strapped to his hips. We've got wind and earth. We can pin it and break its balance. Valira nods once. Gresrin, draw its attention from the front. Salvan, strike when I signal. Alex, just cover me. Alex nods quietly. Understood. Then he turns to Carnessa, speaking low. Stay back. And don't use your ability. Not unless I tell you. Carnessa blinks, caught off guard, but nods. All right. On my mark. Valira says, already moving. She slips around to the right, quietly climbing a low outcrop of stone for a better angle. She draws her bow, a sleek, black lacquered weapon strung with silver thread, and nocks an arrow. Alex watches, surprised. A bow user? In a world dominated by spellblades and casters, that alone is rare. Gresrin slams his shield once, then roars. Come on, you big lizard. The shellback lurker rears up with a guttural bellow, water spraying off its armored shell as it turns toward the noise. Gresrin charges in, shield raised, and slams it into the beast's leg with a resounding clang. Tier 4, Stone Guard Drive, he bellows. The earth beneath his boots hardens into stone, rippling out in jagged waves that lock the shellback's front limbs in place. The creature thrashes and roars, trying to lift its legs. Now! Valira commands from above. She looses her arrow. Tier 4, Wind Pierce. The arrow vanishes into a blur of wind and sound, slamming beneath the creature's jaw, right where the plating thins. A spark of blood bursts from the impact. The shellback shrieks and tries to withdraw, but Salvan is already there. Tier 4, Twin Swirl Fong, he shouts. He dances in from the flank like a gust, blades flashing. One cut scrapes under the exposed ribs, the other slashes the back knee. He flows past before the beast can react, his footwork light, his form honed. The shellback tries to turn, but Gresrin's already braced, gritting his teeth. Tier 4, Ironroot Wall. A wall of stone erupts around his shield, absorbing the creature's counterstrike as it slams into him. He holds the line with a grunt, boots grinding into the earth. Pressure's on, he yells. Take it down. Alex watches a second longer, then raises his hand. Flames gather at his palm, controlled, precise. Not too much, just enough to keep up appearances. Flame lash. A coil of fire snaps forward, curling around the creature's neck and tightening. The heat makes the shellback thrash, exposing more of its soft underside. Valira fires again. Tier 5, Wind Pierce, second volley. 2 arrows fly this time, spinning through the air like twin silver streaks. Both sink into the wound Alex just opened. The beast lets out a strangled roar. Salvan rushes in again, blades coated in cutting wind. Tier 4, Razor Draw. 1 slash severs a tendon in the hind leg. The shellback buckles, collapsing to one side. Gresrin, Valira calls. Tier 4, Earth Splitter Bash. Gresrin slams his shield down, the ground exploding upward. A sharp spike of stone erupts beneath the shellback's throat. The monster convulses, then falls still. Steam rises off its corpse, and blood seeps into the stream. Valira lowers her bow, breathing evenly. Clean. No injuries. Good job. Salvan grins, wiping his blades clean. Haven't fought together in months, but we still move like one. Gresrin chuckles. I felt that bastard's jaw in my arm. Solid warm-up. Carnessa stares from behind a tree, wide-eyed. You guys are amazing. Valira nods once. We trained together since we were kids. Alex remains silent, watching them with narrowed eyes. Alex watches the group settle, his expression unreadable as the shellback lurker's massive corpse steams behind them. The air still hums faintly with residual magic. Burnt ozone, stirred dust, wind-blown leaves. They're good, Alex thinks, his eyes narrowing. killing a Tier 5 beast cleanly with only 1 Tier 5 and 2 Tier 4s. That kind of coordination is rare, especially with no shouting, no wasted movement. They didn't just win, they hunted. Alex folds his arms. He'd barely used a fraction of his power. More flame than fire, just enough to contribute without standing out. The others had carried the weight of the fight, and they'd done it well. They basically fought a Tier 5 without me. Valeira steps back from the body and glances at the flat crystal panel embedded on her wrist. Like a thin disc of polished glass, softly glowing with runes. She taps the side, and a number flickers across the surface. 20 points, she announces. Gresrin grins wide. Damn right it was. That thing was worth every drop of sweat. Solvin sheathes his blades with a twirl and tilts his head toward Alex. You held back. Valeira glances at Alex briefly but says nothing. She's clearly already noticed it too. Alex meets Solvin's gaze calmly. Didn't want to get in the way. You had it handled. Gresrin snorts, the grin on his face fading into something more pointed. TSSK. That's ridiculous, he says, voice tight. He jabs a thumb toward Carnessa, who's standing quietly just a few paces behind. And your monster slave didn't even move, just stood there like luggage. Carnessa flinches slightly but doesn't speak. Her red eyes flick between the others, uncertain. Gresrin narrows his eyes at Alex. Next hunt you fight alone. Let's see what you're really carrying. Valeira exhales long and slow. Gresrin, she says, tone edged with warning. I understand how you feel, but we're a team. Don't start a fight we don't need. Gresrin grumbles but doesn't back down completely. I'm just saying. He's not here to watch. Chapter 222, Carden Kingdom. Alex meets his stare head-on, calm and steady. There's no heat in his voice, only cool certainty. I'll fight the next tier for we find, he says simply. Solvin raises an eyebrow. Just you? Yes, Alex says. Valeira studies him for a second longer, then nods slowly. All right, next one's yours. Gresrin crosses his arms, muttering under his breath. Better be worth the wait. It doesn't take long. Barely 20 minutes into their quiet advance through the forest, Solvin halts, crouching by a broken root. He raises a hand signal. The group comes to a stop behind a fallen log, every movement trained and silent. There, Solvin murmurs, pointing just ahead through a narrow break in the trees. Everyone follows his finger. A lone beast prowls just beyond the treeline. Sleek, sinewy, with glossy black fur striped in red. Its long tail flicks like a whip behind it, claws carving deep trenches into the bark as it stalks between the trees. Its eyes glow amber, feral and focused. Tier 4. Alex's gaze sharpens. As promised, he says quietly, stepping forward. I'll handle it alone. Carnessa's fingers curl tightly at her side, but she says nothing. She watches him go, lips pressed thin. Even if she wanted to help, she can't. She doesn't know how to fight. She doesn't even have any skills. Just a bloodline she doesn't understand, and a master who told her to stay still. Solvin watches Alex's back as he moves through the undergrowth. He leans closer to Valeira. Is this really okay? He asks in a hushed voice. That thing's aura, it's strong. Stronger than Alex. Valeira keeps her eyes forward, posture tense but composed. If it gets bad, we help, she says. Until then, we trust him. Gresrin huffs but doesn't argue. He asked for this. Alex walks toward the beast with calm, deliberate steps. The forest seems to hush around him, as if nature itself holds its breath. Mist clings to his boots. Light filters through the canopy in shifting beams, painting him in ghost light. His right hand drifts to the sword at his waist. A slender, dark steel blade with a simple hilt wrapped in worn leather. He draws it without flourish. No glow, no wind, no fire. Just the cold slide of steel leaving its sheath. They think I'm weaker than it, he thinks, lips quirking faintly. Good. The beast notices him now. His head snaps around and it growls low guttural primal. Muscles coil under its striped hide. Saliva drips from long, curved fangs. The earth tenses beneath it. Then it charges. Fast. The beast explodes from cover like a black arrow, claws raking into soil, tail lashing violently behind it. Predator strike, direct, overwhelming, brutal. Valira tightens her grip on her bow. Salvan takes a half-step forward instinctively, and Gresrin's brow furrows. But Alex doesn't move. Not until the last second. Then he steps sideways, one smooth shift, and the beast rips past him, claws slicing only empty air. Alex pivots low and fast. His sword hums as it arcs in a tight curve. Steel sings. Clang. The blade crashes against the beast's flank, sparks flying as it scrapes against its reinforced hide. Not deep, but enough. The creature snarls, twisting mid-charge, tail whipping out toward Alex's chest. He ducks under it, then counters. His footwork is tight, precise. He steps in, slashing upward. Slash. Parry. Feint. The second blow grazes the beast's shoulder. Then the third strikes its paw as it lunges, forcing it to stagger sideways with a pained yelp. He's controlling the flow. Salvan mutters, voice low. What an impressive sword mastery. Valira narrows her eyes. He's not panicking, not even straining. The beast roars, turning fully now, fangs bared. It leaps again, straight for Alex's throat. Alex exhales. Tier 4, Ember Fang. A flash of flame erupts from his blade. Not wild or explosive, but refined. A focus surge along the edge, turning it white-hot for a split second. He twists mid-dodge, bringing the blade up across the beast's belly. SHHK. Clean, deep cut. The creature lands and skids, hind legs buckling. Alex doesn't give it a second to recover. He surges forward. Fast. Tier 4. Flash step. He blinks from view, just a blur of heat and speed, and reappears beside the beast's exposed side. One clean slash. Tier 4. Flame sever. The strike cuts across the beast's neck, trailing fire like a ribbon. The flames don't erupt. They eat, focused and lethal, burning into the wound before the blood can even spill. The beast collapses, twitches, goes still. Steam rises from the gash. The scent of scorched fur drifts into the air. Silence. Alex stands over the body, breathing steady. His blade flicks once. Snick, casting off embers and blood before sliding back into its sheath. He turns and walks back toward the others. No swagger, no grin, just calm eyes and quiet steps. Valira's lips part slightly. Salvan exhales a breath he didn't know he was holding. Gresrin just stares, brow furrowed and mouth set in a flat line. Carnessa watches with wide, unblinking eyes. Alex stops a few paces from them. I used an almost peak tier 4 strength, he thought. That should be enough. Salvan breaks the silence first, eyes wide, voice light with disbelief. Wow, Alex, are you a prodigy? Alex tilts his head slightly. Prodigy. Valira steps forward, her tone warm but matter-of-fact. It's what we call people who are stronger than their actual level, naturally gifted. Rare, but real. Gresrin scoffs, folding his arms. You must be kidding, Salvan. You've never seen a real prodigy, not in the main continent. Those people are monsters. Valira gives him a side glance. And yet, Alex just beat a high-tier beast with clean footwork, perfect control, and no wasted power. She turns back to Alex and continues, more directly, You're level 450, right? Alex nods once. Yes. Then fighting like a peak tier 4 at level 450 is still very impressive. Most people at your level wouldn't last 10 seconds against that thing. Gresrin's mouth tightens, but he doesn't argue. He just looks away with a grunt. Salvan, meanwhile, still seems fascinated. The way you moved, it wasn't just power. That was technique. Like someone who's trained for years with a blade. I have, Alex says simply. Valira crosses her arms, studying him now with clear respect. After this event ends, you should come with me to my clan. Alex raises an eyebrow. Why? I'll make my father reward you, she says without hesitation. You're the kind of talent the Ash Edge clan needs. Not just strength, but calm under pressure. Control. Discipline. Carnessa watches quietly behind him, her fingers tightening slightly at her sides. Alex glances back at the corpse of the beast, then returns his gaze to Valira. I'll think about it. Valira nods. That's all I ask. Gressrin huffs again but says nothing this time. Salvin chuckles, nudging him with an elbow. Come on, admit it. The guy is a genius. Gressrin grumbles, then finally mutters. Fine. He's good. Better than I thought. Valira smirks faintly. More than good. They continue hunting. For the next half day, the forest becomes a blur of movement. Crushed foliage, bursts of magic, the metallic ring of steel clashing against hide. Beasts fall one after another. Between Valira's precision, Salvin and Gressrin's brutal tempo, and Alex's controlled but devastating swordplay, the kills come quickly and efficiently. By midday, their tally hits 500 points. Not bad, Salvin mutters, wiping blood off one of his twin blades. It's because of Alex, Valira says as she checks her wrist crystal. Having 3 peak tier 4 combatants makes this so much smoother. Alex remains quiet as he cleans his blade with a cloth, his expression unreadable. Carnessa lingers just behind the group, watching, hugging herself. She hasn't spoken much, but her gaze rarely leaves Alex. The team pauses briefly near a ridge to regroup, but they don't get much time to rest. A low growl tears through the air ahead of them, followed by the sound of crashing trees. A massive, hulking beast bursts through the underbrush, its body covered in jagged rock-like armor and glimmering red eyes. Another peak tier 4, Gressrin says, bracing his shield. All right, formation? Valira notches an arrow. You know the drill. The group moves instinctively. Valira taking the high ground, Salvin and Gressrin flanking the sides, Alex walking calmly toward the front. Carnessa stays back, behind a wide route. But before anyone can engage, a whistling sound cuts through the air. Boom! A shockwave explodes behind the beast, sending it sprawling forward, right past Alex. Everyone snaps to alert. From the treeline, a group of 5 figures emerges, walking in a loose spread. Uniform leather armor, violet sashes across their shoulders, and polished weapons glinting in the filtered light. Jackpot! One of them says, grinning wide. He has an axe slung over one shoulder and an air of smug arrogance. We finally found another group. He scans them casually, then sneers. And looks like we're in luck. We ran into the loser squad. Valira's eyes narrow instantly. Her tone drops low, controlled but sharp. This is bad. Who are they? Salvin asks, shifting his stance, blades already drawn. Valira doesn't take her eyes off the approaching group. Her voice drops further. They're from the Carden Kingdom. Gressrin's grip tightens on his shield. Damn. They've got 3 tier 5s. Valira continues, eyes narrowing as she counts, and 2 tier 4s, all experienced. The one with the axe stops a few paces ahead, grinning like a wolf. What's wrong, Ash Edge girl? You look tense. I thought all of you from the clans were taught to be calm under pressure. The girl beside him, lean and cat-eyed with a staff in her hand, laughs. 500 points, huh? That's a nice haul. Hope you're not too attached to them. Chapter 223, Quasi-Tier 6 Weapons, Part 1. The leader of the group steps forward now, young, tall, and unmistakably noble. His dark violet cloak sways behind him, the royal crest of Carden stitched over his chestplate. His black hair is tied back in a warrior's knot, and the golden circlet across his brow glints with mana. Prince. He lifts his hand lazily, as if swatting away a fly. Enough talk, he says coldly. Attack them. The 2 tier 4s vanish into motion immediately, one rushing towards Alex, the other angling for the backline. Straight for Carnessa. Carnessa gasps, stumbling backward, her eyes wide. The enemy tier 4 dashes through the brush like a streak of shadow, sword raised high. But before he can reach her, clang! Alex is there. His sword intercepts the blow, steel screaming against steel. Sparks spray from the clash. Carnessa stumbles and falls back behind him, eyes locked on his back. The attacker snarls. "You shouldn't have blocked that, boy." The second Tier 4 arrives a second later, trying to catch Alex from the side. Blades flashing in a scissoring strike meant to cut deep. Alex exhales once. His blade flickers. Clang! Ching! HHHK. He parries the first with a perfect upward deflection, his blade gliding along the enemy's steel, and shifts his weight to spin. The second blow he redirects with the flat of his sword, barely moving his feet. Then, strike. A quick, tight slash. Tier 4. Ember Fong. Slams against the shoulder of the second attacker, burning through cloth and armor. The man staggers back, swearing as smoke curls from the wound. "You little!" The first Tier 4 comes again, swinging down with brute force. Alex catches it on his sword, his eyes don't even blink. Alex pushes off with a sharp pivot, twisting past him, and counters with a downward arc aimed at the man's thigh. The blade bites shallow, carving red through muscle. The man cries out and backs off. 2-on-1 now. And yet, Alex doesn't even look tense. He stands between Carnessa and the two Tier 4s like a wall. Carnessa watches, her breath caught in her throat. Alex, calm and immovable, is fending off two Tier 4s like it's routine, like it's nothing. But her hands are trembling. She hates it, hates just standing there, doing nothing, always watching, always behind him. Her fingers curl slowly into fists, nails digging into her palms. "No more," she whispers to herself. She looks past Alex, eyes locking onto the Tier 4 with the jagged blade, the one still trying to circle around toward her. Her heart pounds. She doesn't fully understand how, but something in her blood hums. Something ancient and cold, like a river of silver winding through her bones. She lifts her hand, fingers outstretched, palm open. "Stop!" she breathes. Her pupils contract. For a brief moment, barely a breath in time, her vision shifts. She sees it, the blood rushing in the man's body, through his limbs, across his chest, to his brain. Every pulse, every current. Her blood stirs. A silent pressure lashes outward from her hand. And in that fraction of a second, the man freezes. His eyes widen. His body halts mid-step, sword mid-swing, completely rigid. Like something inside him just stopped. "What the hell?" he chokes, voice breaking. Carnessa's hand drops. Her knees almost buckle. Blood flows in him again. She can feel it, but it's already too late. Because Alex is watching everything. And he doesn't hesitate. Flash step. He blurs forward with a single, silent dash. Before the frozen man can even gasp. HHHK. Before the blade finishes its arc. Before Alex's sword can pierce the man's chest. Clang. A shimmering golden shield erupts between them, blocking the strike with a brilliant flash of light. Alex's sword ricochets off the glowing barrier, sparks flaring as metal meets pure mana. Then, boom! A pillar of white light engulfs the wounded Tier 4. The man's eyes widen as his body begins to disintegrate into motes of energy. "Wah? No. I can still." Too late. In an instant, he vanishes, forcefully teleported from the battlefield. Ejected. The fight was over. Alex straightens slowly, exhaling as he lowers his sword. His face is impassive, but his gaze flicks to the remaining Tier 4 still standing before him. The man stares, chest heaving. His face is pale. "You!" he breathes. "How the hell are you so strong? We're the same tier. Same strength. This shouldn't even be possible." Alex doesn't answer immediately. Instead, he wipes his blade once on his coat, calm as ever. Then, just before he shifts his stance again, he gives the man a slow, mocking smirk. The man's eyes twitch, and Alex moves. Like lightning, the Tier 4 barely has time to lift his weapon before Alex is in front of him. Clang, clang, HHK. The duel is brutal but one-sided. The man swings wide, Alex ducks. He slashes high, Alex sidesteps and cuts low. He tries to retreat. Alex appears behind him in a flash step, sword gleaming. A burning line carves across the man's armor, melting through the plates with surgical precision. He screams, stumbling, barely holding himself together. Wait! Alex's eyes narrow. Tier 4. Flames sever. One final slash, perfectly aimed, just below the ribs. But, whoom! The golden shield snaps up once more. Another pillar of light bursts upward, surrounding the second Tier 4. He vanishes before Alex's blade finishes the cut, his last scream echoing into the forest before fading into silence. Alex exhales. Two gone. Behind him, Carnessa slumps to her knees, her breathing ragged, her face pale but proud. Meanwhile, chaos erupts around them. From deeper in the trees, the sounds of clashing steel, shouting, and explosions ring out. The other members of the two teams have been scattered across the terrain, dragged by traps, spells, or sheer battlefield momentum. Solvin's voice echoes from far off. Valira! They're splitting us. Gressrin crashes through the trees, shield up, yelling, regroup. Damn it, they're pushing hard. The battle fractures like glass under a hammer. Branches snap, arrows whistle, spells erupt. The forest becomes a storm of light and steel. Up on a slanted ridge, Valira moves like the eye of that storm, graceful, lethal, focused. Her bow hums as she draws another arrow. The prince stands across from her, his stance relaxed but coiled, like a predator humoring its prey. He parries each shot with casual flicks of his sword, energy blooming from the runes on his blade. The prince, unfazed, his dark-bladed sword, its surface pulsing faintly with Tier 5 mana. His cloak flutters as he steps forward, smirking. This is boring, he taunts. Valira lands softly on a low branch, eyes locked on him. She doesn't answer. Instead, she draws another arrow, leveling it at the prince. However, he moves. He's suddenly in front of her, blade thrusting forward, a stab aimed for her heart. Clang! She twists, just barely deflecting the strike with her bow's reinforced limb. The shock travels down her arm, but she grits her teeth and backflips off the branch, landing on the forest floor. He follows instantly. Their blades, his sword and her arrowhead, clash again and again. She spins and weaves with archer's grace, while he moves with a duelist's precision. But she's being pushed. He's faster, stronger. She knows it, so she growls out, "Use the weapons." From somewhere nearby, Solvin calls back breathlessly, "Is that okay? We're not supposed to unless." "It's okay." Valira snaps, ducking under a swing and firing point-blank into the prince's leg. The arrow punches into his armor but doesn't break through. She rolls away, panting. "We still have one more trump card." Solvin hears her, and he doesn't hesitate. He reaches into the enchanted case strapped to his back, a blackened wooden box sealed with 4 glowing runes. As he breaks the last one, the air distorts with raw heat. The case clicks open. Inside rests a pair of dual crescent daggers, their blades forged from a faintly pulsing white-silver metal, etched with runes that seem to shift when stared at. Light and shadow bend faintly around them. Failed Tier 6 weapon. Weapons that almost ascended but failed, but still carried tremendous power. Solvin grabs the hilts. The moment his fingers touch them, bzzmm, mana floods his veins like fire. His body jolts. He bites back a scream as power surges into his limbs. Too much, too fast, but manageable. Just barely. The runes on the weapons flare, adapting to his Tier 4 body. And then, he disappears. One of the enemy Tier 5s, tall, wielding an axe, doesn't see the blur until it's too late. Clang, clang, clang. Solvin slams into him from the side with speed he didn't have seconds ago. Each of his dagger strikes hits harder than before, strong enough to dent armor, fast enough to be Tier 5. The enemy grunts and swings his claymore in a wide arc, destructive, clumsy compared to Solvin's precision. Solvin ducks, spins, and drives both daggers into the man's ribs. Sparks fly. Mana burns. The man stumbles, snarling. What the hell? At the same time, Gresrin, who'd been fending off the Carden mage, hears Valira's order too. He growls, "Fine. Let's see how you like this." He slams his gauntlet into the ground and opens the second case Valira entrusted him with. Inside, a tower shield of obsidian and azure alloy, humming with defensive runes. Runes not meant for mortals, tier 6 prototypes. The weight alone nearly crushes him as he straps it to his arm. Fuses with his mana. And suddenly his body stabilizes. His feet dig into the earth. The ground responds to him. The Carden mage fires a bolt of tier 5 lightning skill. It hits the shield and fizzles. What? Gresrin marches forward, slow and unstoppable. Try harder. Chapter 224. Quasi-Tier 6 Weapons. Part 2. The Prince of Carden sees it. The instant the weapons are revealed, the white-silver glint of Salvan's daggers, the obsidian-blue shine of Gresrin's shield, his smile freezes. His eyes narrow, and for the first time, there's real surprise. No, a hint of unease. That pressure. He murmurs, voice low. He doesn't move. He just stares, sword lowered slightly, gaze flicking between the glowing weapons now lighting the battlefield like war torches. That's not tier 5. Also not a tier 6-inch, he says again, softer this time. That's quasi-tier 6. Valira, panting, knocks another arrow. Blood drips from her temple, but her eyes gleam. "Oh," she says with acid in her voice. "I thought this was boring?" The prince doesn't answer immediately. Instead, he clicks his tongue once and finally looks at her. Not with the amused, superior confidence of before, but with narrowed eyes. "Your clan is really going all out this time." He steps back once. For the first time since the battle began. He mutters, "Even I never touched one. Only seen them from afar, displayed in sanctums, or in the hands of important people in the kingdom." Valira doesn't miss the shift in his expression. That flicker of disbelief. The tensing of his jaw. The way his fingers grip his blade just a little tighter. She lifts her bow, her own weapon now glowing faintly. The wood dark as obsidian and pulsing with pale blue lines of mana. The limbs hum softly, like a sleeping beast beginning to stir. She doesn't draw an arrow. She doesn't need to. The quasi-tier 6 bow drinks her mana, and in a flash, phoom, a glowing arrow of pure energy forms over the string. She draws it back. The arrow gleams brighter. "I guess I need to thank my clan," she adds, a smirk ghosting her lips. "I'm important to them." She lets go. Whoosh! The mana arrow flies, faster than sound. A streak of light tearing through the air. The prince moves. Barely. The arrow grazes his cheek, burning a glowing red line across his face before it splinters against a magical barrier behind him. Bark explodes from the tree it hits. He stands still, expression frozen. He touches the wound on his cheek. Then he laughs, quietly, low in his throat. "I see," he says. "Don't think you are now stronger than me." He points his sword at her again. He points his sword at her again. No more holding back. He vanishes. Valira's eyes snap sideways. She's already pivoting, spinning back. Clang. The prince reappears just inches from her, blade aimed for her throat. But she ducks and swipes the bow upward, catching his sword mid-swing and pushing it wide. She kicks off his chest, flipping through the air, lands, fires another arrow in mid-spin. He blocks, barely. The impact forces him back, his boots scraping against the forest floor. She lands, already charging another shot. They clash again. This time, the fight is different. The prince's blade is faster, and his attacks sharper. But Valira's bow is no longer just a ranged weapon. She's using it like a staff, a blade, a hammer of precision and magic. He slashes. She ducks under and drives the tip of her bow into his ribs. A shockwave bursts from the impact, throwing him back 2 meters. He recovers instantly, dashing forward again. Their movements blur. Flashes of steel and glowing mana weaving between tree trunks and low branches. The prince's sword tears a deep gash through her side. She grits her teeth, doesn't cry out, and launches a counter. A triple shot of mana arrows in a fan formation that forces him to roll back behind cover. Before the prince can rise from his dodge, Valeira vanishes. A gust of wind bursts where she stood, a cyclone in miniature, and she's gone in a flash of green-blue light. Wind step, the prince mutters, rising to one knee. His eyes dart across the tree-line, tension prickling along his spine. A tier 5 movement skill. Leaves rustle overhead. Too late. Thwip. An arrow of wind-piercing mana slams into his shoulder from the right. Crack. The force shatters the protective barrier he'd just begun to conjure. He grits his teeth as his pauldron dents, mana surging to reinforce his flesh. Damn! Thwip! Thwip! 2 more arrows come in from the opposite direction, sharp as blades, riding on howling currents of wind. He spins his sword, blocking the first, but the second slips under, grazing his thigh. Clean hit. He leaps back, snapping a defensive glyph into the air. But even as it flares to life, a 4th arrow tears through the side, cleaving through with precision. Another whisper of wind. He flinches and slashes to the left, but nothing's there. Then, tier 5, spiral gale shot. Her voice echoes across the clearing. Above him, his eyes snap up. Valeira drops from the trees, upside down mid-air, her bow already drawn back. The mana arrow spinning between her fingers grows long and thin like a spear, wrapped in violently swirling wind. She lets it go. Fwum! The arrow drills downward like a wind-augmented lance, its tail churning the air behind it. The prince barely raises his sword in time. The arrow strikes it dead on. Boom! The arrow slams into the prince's sword with a deafening roar, and the entire forest floor erupts in a gale-force blast. Trees sway, branches snap. A crater tears open beneath his feet from the sheer force of the wind explosion. The prince crashes back, hard, his body skidding across dirt and rock. His blade flies from his hand, tumbling end over end into the brush. There's cracks around his armor, overloaded and faltering. He lifts his head just barely, blood smearing his lips. And then, whoosh, the light. A column of white energy engulfs him, wrapping around his broken form like a cage of judgment. No! He rasps. His body begins to disintegrate into motes of light, teleportation forcefully ejecting him from the field. His voice echoes, twisted with disbelief and fury. I wasn't done. Then he's gone. Silence follows. Valeira stumbles. Her knees give out. She drops to one knee, gasping, the glow of her bow flickering and fading. Her fingers are trembling, her mana depleted. The weapon hums low, then goes still. She looks down at it, murmuring through ragged breath. That took everything. She tries to rise, but her limbs refuse to obey. Her wind aura dissipates like steam. I need to help Solvin. Gresrin. She lifts her eyes toward the far side of the woods. Distant crashes echo. Flashes of battle light up the trees. She wants to move, but she can't. Damn it! Then, crunch. A footstep behind her. She whips her head around and relaxes. Alex. He's already walking toward her, sword sheathed. He glances toward the spot where the prince vanished, then back at her with an arched brow. Oh, he says casually. You won. Valeira lets out a weak laugh. Of course. I told you my clan is going all out this time. Alex replies beside her. He scans her injuries quickly. You're out of mana. She nods. Yeah, that last shot drained everything. I can't even lift my arm. Valeira's eyes flick toward the distant battle again, pain and urgency still lingering behind her gaze. Gresrin and Solvin. They're still fighting. Each of them has a tier 5 on them. Alone. Alex stands, following her line of sight. His eyes narrow. Through the shifting gaps between trees, he catches brief flashes of movement. Gresrin's massive obsidian shield holding against a barrage of lightning spells, and Solvin weaving around a spear-wielding opponent. his dual daggers glinting with quicksilver arcs. Alex's gaze sharpens. He can tell instantly they're holding their own. Against tier 5s. They shouldn't be able to do that, he mutters. Not unless. Then he sees it. Solvan's daggers, crackling faintly with unstable energy. Gressrin's shield, the edges flaring like living metal. Alex tilts his head. Solvan's daggers, crackling faintly with unstable energy. Gressrin's shield, the edges flaring like living metal. Alex tilts his head. Tier 6, he murmurs under his breath. He steps forward slowly, feeling the residual mana left in the air. Not quite tier 6, but close. A distorted echo of true tier 6 gear. Tempered but incomplete. His eyes flick down to Valeira's bow. Now silent but unmistakable in make. She has won too. Alex exhales through his nose, a faint smirk tugging at the corner of his mouth. So that's how they're still standing. Alex straightens fully, his cloak fluttering softly as a breeze stirs through the wrecked clearing. His gaze lingers on Solvan's daggers, then Gressrin's shield. That's interesting, he murmurs to himself, gaze lingering on Solvan's daggers and Gressrin's shield. Failed tier 6, and not just one. 3 of them. He glances down at Valeira's exhausted form, then at her bow lying across her knees like a dormant beast. He glances down at Valeira's exhausted form, then at her bow lying across her knees like a dormant beast. Her clan's got a blacksmith who can forge that? He thought, almost incredulous. That's perfect. My kingdom lacks a good blacksmith. His mind is already working. His kingdom lacks anyone even close to that level right now. His smiths can't forge tier 5 gear yet. They need more time. I might really need to visit this girl's clan. But right now he has to act. A fresh explosion rips through the forest. Solvan is forced into a backflip, barely dodging a sweep from his tier 5 opponent's spear. Gressrin's shield screeches as it deflects another blast of flame. 2 tier 5s, pressing hard. No openings. And Alex has to fake being tier 4. Tsh, he mutters, flicking his wrist as if shaking tension from his fingers. I can't just bulldoze them like usual. Chapter 225, the top 10. He closes his eyes for a heartbeat. Then they snap open, burning faintly red. Tier 4, Ember Mirage. He doesn't move toward the fight. He erupts. From the trees, 10 burning afterimages of Alex split outward in a flickering ring of flame. Illusory clones, each moving at a believable tier 4 pace, darting in all directions, some charging directly into the tier 5's foot peripheral vision. Flames trail behind them like fire wisps, real enough to draw attention, each one with enough weight behind its aura to be mistaken for a genuine assault. The forest lights up with streaks of fire. One of the tier 5s, a red-armored spearman facing Solvan, whirls as 2 of the clones rush him from opposite angles. What? He stabs through one, and it explodes in a burst of flame, harmless but bright. That's when Solvan dashes forward with both daggers. Clang, clang. The enemy stumbles from the flash, barely getting his spear up in time. Meanwhile, Gressrin's boots dig into the soil as another crackling bolt of lightning slams into his shield. Crack boom. A thunderous roar shakes the air as the tier 5 lightning mage floats 10 meters above the ground, wrapped in arcs of flickering purple-gold current. Her eyes blaze as her staff pulses with electricity. You're still standing? She snarls, voice shrill and sharp like a storm. You should have melted by now. Gressrin grits his teeth behind his shield, arms trembling. She's fast, he mutters under his breath. Too fast for a counter. Another bolt hurls down. Krakow! He slides back 2 meters, boots furrowing the dirt, but holds. Then, a shimmer of heat. The temperature rises subtly, like the breath before a wildfire. Gressrin feels it before he sees it. A pulse of fire. Not destructive, but deliberate. In the corner of his eye, flaming silhouettes streak across the treeline, weaving between trunks, climbing trees, sprinting toward the mage. The woman narrows her eyes, spinning mid-air. What now? She hisses. She lifts her hand and sends a forked bolt at one of the illusions. Boom! It explodes in a puff of flame. She spins again, blasts another. The forest lights up in orange and red. Gresrin sees the opening. Now! He charges, not directly, but angling to the mage's side. She notices too late. Alex, standing far behind the trees, watches carefully. He keeps his own mana signature muted, letting the clones carry the false pressure. He knows exactly what he's doing. Not fighting, just creating chaos. Making the enemy split focus. And it works. The mage turns her head for half a second, tracking a clone overhead. And that's all the time Gresrin needs. He slams his shield into the ground. Boom! Mana ripples outward. Tier 4, Shield Pulse. A shockwave bursts in a cone. Rock and dirt erupting under her feet. She loses balance mid-air. Gresrin leaps. You're open. He hurls his entire weight behind his shield. Crack! It collides with her torso, shattering the lightning barrier surrounding her. She coughs blood, spinning mid-air, crashing through 2 tree branches before hitting the forest floor in a burst of sparks. Before she can rise, white light engulfs her. No! Gone. Ejected. Silence. Gresrin lands with a grunt, breathing hard, his shield steaming. Then, nice hit, Alex says behind him, emerging from the smoke as the last illusion fades. Gresrin turns, chest still heaving. You gave me the opening. I just threw some fire around. Alex shrugs. You're the one who finished it. Still, without that distraction. A moment later, Solvin jogs up, wiping blood off his cheek. Mine's out too, he says. Thanks to you, Alex. Alex's expression doesn't change. Simple fire trick. Draws attention but can't hurt anything. Gresrin hesitates for a moment. His shoulders rise and fall with heavy breaths. Thank you, he says at last. His voice is rough, low with pride still clinging to the edge. I owe you one. Alex doesn't make a big deal of it. He just gives a small nod. Don't mention it. Before anything else can be said, Valeira steps out from the brush. Still pale but standing. Her movements are stiff, but she holds herself together. We should leave, she says quickly. We got 1,000 points defeating them. Laying low until the stage ends is the smart call. Gresrin nods immediately. No argument here. My mana's gone. Solvin flicks blood from one of his daggers. We've racked up enough to stay in the top 10, he says. Trying to chase more would just invite teams to target us. The group doesn't waste time. They retreat deeper into the forest, moving cautiously but quickly, Valeira guiding them by instinct and memory. After half an hour of weaving through thick underbrush and silent groves, they find it. A narrow rocky ridge hidden by a low canopy, accessible only through a small crevice between 2 moss-covered boulders. Perfect. A natural blind spot, hard to notice, harder to reach. They settle in. No fires, no lights, just silence and breath. Everyone takes turns keeping watch while the others rest. The hours stretch on. Night falls. The sky above the canopy dims to a deep, dusky blue, stars barely visible through the leaves. Somewhere in the distance, a beast cries. A sharp, guttural sound, quickly silenced by something larger. No one comments on it. They just wait. Alex leans back against the rock wall, arms folded. His eyes stay half-lidded but alert. Every few moments, his gaze flicks to the others. Valeira curled up with her bow against her chest, Solvin resting with one dagger in hand, and Gresrin sitting cross-legged beside his shield, still steaming faintly. Then, a hum in the air. Faint, subtle, but growing. Alex's eyes open fully. Here it comes. Solvin stirs. Yeah, I feel it too. A low pulse shakes the air, like a distant bell tolling underwater. 1, 2, 3 beats. Then, flash. White light surges from beneath their feet. Everyone tenses on instinct, but there's no danger. Only warmth and weightlessness. A moment later, the forest is gone. In a blink, they're standing back in the central arena. Stone beneath their boots. marble pillars all around, massive sky overhead, and a roaring audience watching from every side. Alex exhales slowly as the light fades. Valira squints into the brightness, shielding her eyes. We're back. Gresrin looks around, blinking. Felt longer than a day. Salvan cracks his neck. We're still in one piece. That's what counts. A moment later, a booming voice echoes across the Colosseum. Stage 1. Complete. Welcome back. Cheers erupt from the stands. A giant panel of light appears high above the arena, displaying team rankings. The rankings flicker into view, glowing letters shifting rapidly as names and numbers rearrange themselves. The crowd hushes, all eyes fixed upward. The announcer's voice booms again, excitement crackling in every word. Now, behold the top 10 teams of the first stage. With a dramatic hum of magic, the final list locks into place. Top 10 rankings, Stage 1. 1. Kingdom of 2, 4,020 points. 2. Nighthorn Clan, 2,310 points. 3. Kingdom of Kareth, 1,980 points. 4. Stormveil Sect, 1,740 points. 5. Ashedge Clan, 1,530 points. 6. Kingdom of Realm, 1,400 points. 7. Frostpine Clan, 1,290 points. 8. Kingdom of Myron, 1080 points. 9. Duskwatch Clan, 1050 points. 10. Red Ember Clan, 1,010 points. The crowd erupts. Gasps ripple across the Colosseum like wildfire. Wait, top 5, the Ashedge Clan? Someone blurts aloud. They were ranked near the bottom last time, another cries. Incredible, he says, recovering quickly. A stunning upset, led by the Ashedge Clan's own Valira, has climbed all the way to the top 5 with a staggering 1,530 points. Valira blinks up at the projection in the sky, sweat still drying on her temple. 5th? She mutters. Salvan lets out a short laugh, half disbelieving. They didn't expect us. Gresrin stares at the glowing number beside their team. Neither did I, he mutters. From across the arena floor, teams begin to murmur. Some stare, others frown. Standing tall and confident in the center ring, Crown Prince Caldray watches silently. He's a tall man, armor pure black trimmed with gold, long golden hair tied back, and a sword longer than most men are tall resting against his shoulder. His presence is like cold steel, calm, sharp, unshakable. His expression doesn't shift, but his eyes rest on Valira for a long, quiet moment. Then, he smiles. It's small, subtle, but it's not kind. Valira stiffens, a chill crawling down her spine despite the warmth of the arena light. She doesn't even realize she's holding her breath until his gaze slides away. Unconcerned, she exhales shakily. That smile, she mutters under her breath, felt like being hunted. The announcer's voice booms once more, carrying over the arena with theatrical weight. Congratulations to the top 10 teams. The crowd erupts in another cheer, but the announcer continues, louder now to cut through the noise. Only these 10 teams will move forward to Stage 2. That silences the lesser-ranked groups. The reality of elimination hits hard. Murmurs rise from the lower platforms. Some shout in frustration. Others just stand stunned. The announcer presses on. Stage 2 will begin tomorrow morning. Rest well. You'll need every drop of strength you have. A pulse of magic echoes outward from the center dais, and the light screens begin to fade. Valira glances at the others. Tomorrow, huh? We'll be targeted, Salvan says plainly. Every team's seen us now. Valira nods slowly, then exhales through her nose and straightens her back. All the more reason to be ready. She turns to face the others, her voice steady now. All right, let's go back and get some rest, she says. We'll need every bit of it for tomorrow. Chapter 226. The Assembly of 20 Spears. Breajan Empire in the Imperial Citadel. Beneath the domed ceiling of the Flamehold Hall, light pours through golden skylights shaped like phoenix wings, casting warm firelight across the obsidian and silver-veined floor. The throne room of the Breegian Empire is vast, wide enough to house a war camp, tall enough to dwarf siege engines. Every corner is etched with runes of power and protection, and murals of past emperors burn softly on the stone walls, flickering as if alive. And now it fills with motion. One by one, shadows appear at the far end of the hall. Their footsteps echo like drums across the polished stone. The 20 spears of the Empire have arrived. They do not come together. They do not walk as equals. Each enters alone, and each arrival is a presence that shifts the room's weight. These are the Empire's most elite champions, not bound by blood nor oath, but by deed and recognition. Some wear full armor, blades sheathed at their hips or backs. Others come in robes with staves or bare hands, mana humming around them. One moves like a breeze, her feet silent on the ground, eyes cold as glacier glass. Another is massive, dragging a hammer across the floor behind him that scrapes sparks with every step. They are men or women, all dangerous. The last to enter is cloaked entirely in white, his face hidden beneath a polished silver mask. No footsteps mark his entrance, only silence. They stop before the high steps of the solar throne, forming a wide crescent beneath the Emperor's gaze. High above them, Emperor Varnin was seated, his long crimson cloak trailing behind him like a spill of blood across the dais. A pair of phoenixes like beast, flaming and silent, perch at either side of his throne, watching with ember-lit eyes. The flames from the phoenixes flicker softly, their heat felt even from across the vast chamber. Emperor Varnin stands still, unblinking, a mountain of command wrapped in quiet fire. The runes in the walls pulse in rhythm with his mana, low and steady like the beating of a giant's heart. Before him, the 20 spears. Even among them, the 5 at the peak of Tier 6 radiate presence like suns behind clouds. Their auras, contained but undeniable, bend the air subtly around them. One could carve kingdoms from the power they wield. And yet, as one they kneel. Steel gauntlets scrape the stone. Robes whisper as knees touch the floor. Even the quietest among them, Whisper, lowers his head without sound or hesitation. It is not fear. It is reverence. Emperor Varnin doesn't speak at first. He lets the silence carry, letting it settle into the bones of the room. Only the distant crackle of phoenix flame breaks the stillness. Then, "You honor me," he says. His voice is calm, neither warm nor cold, but it cuts through the stillness like a sword through mist. The tall, emerald-eyed spear to the Emperor's left, Severin, first spear, peak Tier 6, once called the Blade of Gyre, lifts his head first, but does not yet rise. "Your will is our command, your majesty," he says, voice firm but respectful. "Summon us once, and we come. Summon us twice, and we bring the Empire's answer." A low rumble of agreement comes from behind him. Emperor Varnin lifts one hand, palm open. "Sit." It is not a suggestion. It is command made effortless by power. The 20 spears obey without hesitation. Cushioned, rune-etched seats rise from the floor around them, some molded of enchanted stone, others formed from dense, heat-hardened wood, shaped to suit each warrior's body and build. Even the monstrous hammer-wielder finds his place with a grunt, folding his arms like boulders stacked across his chest. Once they are seated, the air shifts. "You already know why I have assembled you." A beat of silence. "It's the monsters," says Jevin, first spear. "The ones invading our continent." Another voice cuts in, lighter, sharp as cracked glass. A woman in dark silver robes leans forward, her short white hair shimmering with arcane current. Her name is Aurora, the 9th spear, one of the Empire's highest-ranked combat mage. She narrows her eyes. Are they truly such a threat? Monsters raid our continent every few decades. This feels no different. Whisper, still masked and silent, doesn't speak, but his head turns slightly, listening. Emperor Varnin doesn't respond at first. Instead, His gaze sweeps across the room, slow and surgical. It lingers on one man, a man who stiffens the instant he feels it. Perhaps, the Emperor says, voice even, we should ask Marshal Corvin. The room goes still. All eyes turn. Corvin, 17th Spear, sits with his arms loosely folded, head slightly bowed. But the moment his name is spoken, he jolts, just barely. A flicker of breath. A ripple of tension. He straightens a little too quickly, eyes sharp beneath his cloak. But even with his composed posture, something under his skin seems strained. The others notice. Marshal Corvin. Varnin repeats, quieter now. You returned from Rithimar 2 weeks ago. You saw them, firsthand. A silence stretches. Corvin hesitates for the briefest second, too brief for mortals, but not in this hall. Not among peers who kill gods and call it duty. Yes, Your Majesty, he says finally. I fought one of them. Resna, 5th Spear, her voice like dry wind, asks without looking at him, what rank was the one you fought? Corvin's jaw tightens. Difficult to gauge. The creature's aura was wild. Estimate. Aurora presses, eyes narrowed. Somewhere between high and peak tier 6, he says after a beat. There's a pause. A long one. Then Jevin, 1st Spear, leans forward slowly, elbows resting on his knees. His voice is calm. Too calm. Strange. The report said you engaged for barely 10 seconds. I shift. Shessa of the 8th snorts lightly. Was that before or after you extorted their treasury? Corvin's eyes flash. I did what I had to. Their border defenses were collapsing. Their ruler was indecisive. That ruler, Jevin cuts in, voice sharper now, was still hosting an imperial envoy. You arrived without orders. You threatened them into giving up their artifacts. And then, when a single creature showed up, you ran. Corvin's fingers curl around the edge of his chair. Aurora's eyes glitter. Used a treasured escape charm, didn't you? That glowing scarab that breaks spatial locks. Corvin doesn't answer. He doesn't have to. The silence condemns him more than any accusation. Valra, always blunt, leans back and says flatly, so much for Marshal. You lasted what, 3 attacks? A few chuckles ripple through the spears. Not mocking, but cold, sharp-edged. Even Whisper tilts his head ever so slightly. A gesture of judgment. Emperor Varnin's voice cuts through it all. Still measured. Still calm. You stole from them. You fled without reporting your encounter until summoned. Corvin lowers his head. His voice is tight but steady. I accept your judgment, Your Majesty. Emperor Varnin nods once, the flames behind him flickering higher. Then listen well. You will report to the front lines at once. You will support the Lacento clan in the southeastern ridgeline, where the monsters are breaking through. The silence that follows is heavy. The Lacento clan is not known for mercy. Their lands are bleak, their warriors tireless, and they do not suffer weakness. Corvin inclines his head stiffly. As you wish, Your Majesty. No excuses. No protest. He knows any further words will only deepen the blade. With that, Varnin shifts his gaze from Corvin to the map hovering above the chamber. Glowing softly, showing the fractured edge of the continent where twisted red marks indicate monster activity. The meeting resumes. The meeting continues for nearly an hour. Assignments discussed, contingencies drawn, reinforcements pledged. Whisper writes nothing, but his head tilts with every new change of plan, memorizing it all. Eventually, the Emperor raises his hand once more. The chamber falls still. You have your orders, he says. He turns back toward the solar throne. Dismissed. The phoenixes let out a low, harmonic cry as the 20 spears rise. Chairs vanish into mist and stone. Boots echo across the obsidian floor again. No one speaks to Corvin as they pass. He walks out last. Alone. The doors of Flamehold Hall close behind them all with a thunderous, final boom. The second morning arrives sharp and golden. Light spills over the immense arena like liquid fire, gleaming off polished stone and enchanted banners high above the stands. Tens of thousands of spectators fill the seats, their cheers rolling like thunderclouds. The sky hums with magic. Runes across the Colosseum walls pulse softly in sync with the beating of ceremonial war drums. In the center, the arena floor gleams clean, cleared of blood, beasts, and illusions from yesterday's trials. The top 10 teams are already assembled in the ring, spaced evenly in a broad circle. Now they are the focus. Alex stands with the others, calm, steady, his gaze sweeping across the competitors. Around him, Gressrin adjusts the grip on his shield. Solvin spins a dagger idly between his fingers, and Valira rests her hand on the curve of her bow. Their gear is cleaned, but their bodies still carry the weight of yesterday. A pulse of mana ripples through the air. Boom! A booming voice explodes across the arena, clear and amplified by magic. Citizens of the Empire, are you ready? The crowd erupts, a wave of sound crashing down in answer. The cheers shake the very stone beneath the warriors' boots. Yesterday, the announcer continues, we witnessed 10 teams rise from the chaos, 10 teams strong enough, cunning enough, to claw their way through monsters, rivals, and impossible odds. Chapter 227, Frostpine Clan versus Red Ember Clan. A blinding flash arcs into the air. 10 banners ignite high above the arena, each one displaying the symbol of a team. The Kingdom of Two. Another wave of cheers. The Nighthorn Clan. Roars answer. The Kingdom of Kareth. The Stormveil Sect. The Ashedge Clan. Yes, the Ashedge Clan has returned to the top. This time, the crowd gasps. Then cheers anew, louder than before. The underdog story has caught fire. Unreal, the announcer shouts. Once overlooked, now impossible to ignore. The camera crystal above the arena pans briefly over to Alex. He doesn't react, just watches. The crowd shifts, murmuring with fresh curiosity. Gressrin mutters under his breath. They really love building suspense. The announcer keeps going, voice booming. Let's not forget our other champions. Realm, Frostpine, Myron, Duskwatch, and Red Ember, the fiercest forces in the Empire, gathered here today. The crowd roars again, stomping and clapping, the stands trembling with energy. The arena's golden central platform rises slowly. The announcer's voice grows deeper, more serious. Only 10 teams remain, and now they face the second stage. A hush falls over the crowd. Even the wind seems to still. The announcer's voice drops low, measured, deliberate, echoing like thunder held back behind storm clouds. The second stage will be team versus team. A sharp flare of magic erupts from the center of the arena. In the air above, 10 glowing orbs appear, each one representing a team's emblem. They float, swirling slowly in a circle, lines of magical energy crackling between them. 10 teams, 5 battles, each one chosen not by rank, but by fate. The orbs begin to spin faster. The magical circle around them pulses with rhythm, like a heartbeat. Solvin narrows his eyes. It's randomized. Gressrin tightens his grip on his shield. Great, so we could be thrown against the top seed right off the bat. The crowd leans forward as the magical runes flare brighter. Then, boom! A pulse of power shoots through the orbs. One by one, they start to slow. A hush falls over the Colosseum. Above the arena, the glowing emblems begin to pair off, lines of golden light linking them together. The announcer's voice rises again, practically humming with drama. And our first match of the second stage. 2 orbs flare brighter. The Frostpine Clan, the crowd erupts, versus the Red Ember Clan. Another wave of noise surges through the stands. Cheering, booing, shouting. Rival supporters scream over each other. The stone arena begins to shift, panels grinding open along the edges as terrain rises from beneath. Jagged ice pillars form on one half of the battlefield, while scorched, blackened stone and molten cracks snake across the other. 2 environments, cold and heat, dividing the field. The crowd roars. The two teams step out onto the elevated platforms, lowered slowly into the arena center. On one side stands Frostpine Clan. Their leader, Saren Frostvale, walks forward in pale blue robes trimmed in silver. Her silver hair is tied in a braid, and a cold mist follows her with every step. At her side are the two clan members, one armored man with twin frost axes, and a silent girl with a spear of pure ice. Behind them, two recruits, both dressed in simpler gear. But their mana is clean and potent water element users, chosen for their compatibility with the Frostpine flow. Across the field, flames crackle with every step of the Red Ember clan. Their leader, Listrick of the Ember line, strides forward in glowing crimson armor, his great sword crackling with flame. Fire dances in his red-gold eyes. Two flame wielders from his clan flank him, one a short woman dual-wielding fire daggers, the other a staff-wielding man cloaked in smoke. His two recruits are no less fierce, both fire element users, one hurling molten discs, the other already igniting his fists. The announcer's voice cuts across the noise. Fire and ice, ember and frost, opposing elements, opposing wills. Let the first battle begin. A chime. Boom. The instant the chime fades, the battlefield explodes into motion. From the Frostpine clan side, a massive burst of mist rolls outward as Saren Frostvale sweeps her arm in a wide arc. The air crystallizes instantly, sharp, glittering shards of frost racing like razors across the ground. The two Frostpine clanmates move in sync. The axe wielder slams his weapons together, sending a shockwave of frost outward. The iceborne spear wielder launches forward with a dancer's grace, her spear carving arcs of sub-zero wind as she leaps. Behind them, the two water mages stay back, one chanting as rings of liquid shimmer around his hands, the other lifting her arms as twin waves rise from the ground, rippling and ready. Across the field, the Red Ember clan charges. Burn them down. Forward. Listrick roars, his great sword bursting into flames as he dashes straight at the front line. His two clanmates flank him, Flame Dagger Girl darting low and fast, while the staff wielder channels fire into a swirling firestorm above them. His recruits stay wide, one hurling a spinning disc of molten rock toward the Frostpine side, the other launching forward with fists lit like meteors. The two elements clash at the center of the arena. Crack, boom. The center of the arena erupts as ice meets fire. The molten disc slams into a rising wall of frost, shattering it in a burst of steam and flying shards. The water mage who conjured it flinches but quickly recovers, sweeping his hand wide and pulling a wave of surging water up to deflect the next strike. The arena boils with elemental fury. Listrick and Saren meet at the very center. Steel on steel, flame against frost. Listrick's flaming greatsword crashes down like a hammer. Saren sidesteps with a smooth glide, her frost-edged blade humming through the air in return. He blocks, the force of her parry sending a shockwave of steam outward as fire and ice grind against each other. I will freeze your fire, Saren says calmly, sliding back. Listrick snarls. Let's see how you're gonna do it. They clash again. Boom! His great sword swings in a brutal arc, flames trailing behind it in a burning crescent. Saren raises both hands, calling a wall of frost that catches the blow. But the ice shatters from the force, forcing her to twist aside, robe scorched. Across the battlefield, the ice spear wielder clashes with the Ember recruit who fights barefisted. His punches land like explosions, breaking apart the frost around her with every hit. But she's fast, too fast. She ducks, spins, then strikes, her spear piercing the ground, sending up a spike of ice beneath his feet. He leaps back, narrowly dodging the impalement, but his leg is cut. Blood sizzles as it hits the hot stone. The water mage supporting her raises both arms now, slamming them down. A column of water rises and slams the Ember staff wielder midcast, cutting off his storm. Disrupt him! The Frostpine axe user bellows as he charges in. The axe wielder collides with the molten disc thrower, whose magic sears the ground. They trade blow for blow, fireballs against crashing frost waves. Every strike splashes heat and cold, mist thickening around them. Meanwhile, the fire dagger rogue blinks through the haze, her speed blinding. She goes for the backline, but the second water mage is ready. A whip of water lashes out and coils around her ankle. Before the rogue can blink, the mage yanks, and she crashes hard into the stone. "Nice shot," the spear wielder calls out. But Listrick and Saren are in their own world now. The two leaders trade brutal blows, his great sword a furnace, her blade an avalanche. Listrick steps in, swings overhead with a roar. Saren ducks under it, frost swirling around her like smoke, and slashes upward. Ice blooms along his armor, cracking across his chest plate. He growls, flames erupting from his body, melting the frost instantly. Enough! He lunges in. She meets him halfway. Both blades collide. Boom! A shockwave explodes outward from the clash, sending shards of ice and fire in all directions. Even the audience leans back as the magical dome flickers under the strain. When the steam clears, both leaders are still standing, breathing hard, scorched and frosted in equal parts. Listrick grins. "You're not bad, Frost Princess." Saren narrows her eyes. "And you're not as reckless as you look." Around them, the battle slows. 3 of Red Ember's members are down. 1 unconscious, 2 forced to yield under overwhelming frost. Frostpine still holds 3 standing strong, with the 2 water mages down. Only the leaders remain in the deadlock. Listrick exhales once, then chuckles. "Fine." He lifts his hand slowly. "I yield." The crowd erupts, cheers exploding from the stands, the Frostpine banner pulsing bright blue overhead. The announcer's voice booms through the air. "Victory! Frostpine clan advances to the next round." The water mage who collapsed to one knee looks up and exhales in relief. The spear wielder plants her weapon and leans on it, breathing hard. Saren lowers her blade. The arena is still trembling from the final clash when the announcer's voice ignites the crowd once more. "What a battle!" he roars, his voice shaking the very sky above the Colosseum. Frost against flame, ice against fury, an elemental war from start to finish. The audience erupts again, louder than before. Waves of applause, stomping feet, banners flying, chants roaring from both sides of the stadium. Opposing elements, opposing wills, and neither side gave an inch until the very end. The announcer continues, his words racing ahead of the cheers. Saren of the Frostpine, calm and relentless. Listrick of the Ember Line, blazing and unstoppable. 2 leaders at the peak of their command. The camera crystal swings through the mist and steam lingering over the field, catching the battered yet dignified forms of both team leaders. Saren walking slowly toward her teammates, Listrick nodding to his own as they regroup. Chapter 228, Kingdom of Two. The roar of the crowd is still ringing through the Colosseum when the golden orbs above begin to spin once more, resuming their slow dance through the air. The announcer doesn't miss a beat. "And now, brave citizens of the Empire, are you ready for the second match of the day?" The crowd answers in a single thunderous shout. "Yes." "Then hold on to your seats." The orbs swirl faster, a pulse of magic crackling around them like lightning caught in a whirlpool. And then, boom! 2 emblems flash to life, brighter than the rest. The Kingdom of Two! The crowd erupts. Cheers explode from every section of the arena. Flags bearing the golden lion crest of Two rise high. Horns blare. The chant begins instantly. Tous! 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 Versus the Kingdom of Realm. Another wave of noise surges, though this one is more mixed. Cheers, whistles, the sound of a proud but smaller group trying to rise above the 2 fans. Gresrin's eyebrows rise. "Tous? Rip to that realm guy." Valira watches quietly as the field begins to shift again, stone plates groaning and sliding into new formations. The terrain now rises in a split design. One side a golden plain of sunlit rock and banners, symbolizing Two's pride and discipline. The other, craggy highland terrain, darker, uneven, reminiscent of the iron-rich lands of Realm. The announcer's voice booms over it all. On one side, your tournament favorites, the Golden Lions of the West, the pride of the capital, the #1 ranked team in Stage 1 with over 4,000 points, the Kingdom of Two. A squad of 5 strides out onto the platform, descending into the arena. At the front walks their leader, a young man clad in white and gold armor, cape fluttering in the wind, sword resting at his hip. His golden blonde hair is tied neatly back, his expression calm. He doesn't wave. He doesn't smile. He just walks, and the air around him is steady, commanding. The two prince is flanked by 2 elite warriors from his kingdom, a heavy shield knight glowing with defensive enchantments, and a cloaked archer whose arrows gleam with light magic. Behind them, 2 recruited fighters chosen for strength. One bears a hammer enchanted with radiant force. The other, a tall man with a halberd and layered wind armor shimmering across his limbs. The crowd never stops cheering. And facing them, do not underestimate them, the Iron Wall of the North, the Kingdom of Realm. Another cheer rises, more concentrated this time. Fans of the underdog roaring in support as 5 warriors step out from the opposite platform. Their leader is tall, broad-shouldered, wearing deep red plate armor etched with black runes. His weapon is a spiked Gretamer slung across his back. He walks like a boulder rolling downhill, slow, heavy, unstoppable. 2 warriors march at his side, another with a thick tower shield and mace, and a woman wielding a chain blade that sparks with magnetic runes. The last 2 are recruits, one dual-wielding short spears, the other a silent mage cloaked in iron-threaded robes, enchantments flashing faintly beneath his sleeves. The chime rings. Boom! The battle starts, and it ends fast. The Kingdom of Two doesn't just win, they dominate. The moment the chime fades, they explode into motion with clockwork precision. The Shield Knight charges first, deflecting every spell and blow thrown his way like a walking fortress. The wind-armored halberd wielder swoops across the battlefield, faster than any of the realm fighters can track. The archer fires 1 glowing arrow, then 5, then a dozen. Each one finds its mark, slamming into limbs and weapons, breaking guards and rhythm. The Golden Prince moves like light incarnate. His sword gleams, not a single wasted swing, every strike forcing Realm's captain back. No wasted motion, no strain, just control. Within 2 minutes, Realm is on the ropes. By the 4th, their mage is unconscious, their mace wielder disarmed. The chain blade fighter yields. The crowd erupts as the last blow falls. A clean, radiant cut across the air that sends the Gretamer spinning to the side. 2 wins. The announcer's voice explodes across the arena. What power! What precision! A flawless performance from the Kingdom of Two. A textbook display of high-tier coordination. A complete shutout. Up in the viewing stands, Valira sits forward slightly, watching the field as it resets. Gressrin's jaw hangs halfway open. Alex leans back against the rail. That Crown Prince of Two, he says quietly. He's strong. Peak Tier 5. Valira's arms are crossed, but her gaze never leaves the field. Oh, you can tell? Alex doesn't answer. She does. Prince Caldray has always been a genius. He's been above the rest of us since we were kids. Everything came easy for him: combat, command, strategy. Even his mana is terrifying. Cold. Like he's not even trying. Gressrin exhales, arms resting over the railing. His 2 companions are high tier 5 too. You can feel it. That swordswoman and the archer? Monsters. He jerks his thumb toward the field. And those 2 recruits? Mid-tier 5. That's just unfair. How can they just recruit tier 5s like it's nothing? Then he glances sideways at Alex. Not that I'm complaining, of course. Alex says nothing. Doesn't even blink. Just keeps watching the field as the 2 team walks off with calm, composed steps, like they'd never broken a sweat. Valira finally turns away. We don't need to compete with them, she says, voice firm. Our goal isn't to beat 2. Our goal is to stay in the top 5. Salvan nods quietly. Alex doesn't speak, but he glances sideways at Valira, just briefly. She doesn't notice. She's already looking at the orbs above the arena again as they start spinning once more. Next match, she murmurs. The golden orbs spin faster once more, their glow rippling across the sky like sparks caught in wind. A hush ripples through the crowd. Boom! 2 new emblems flare into view. The Nighthorn clan. Cheers rise again, loud, but sharp, respectful. There's a quiet tension that follows their name, like everyone knows not to cheer too loud around a wolf's den. Versus the Ashedge clan. For a split second, silence. Then, gasps erupt across the Colosseum. Murmurs swell like a wave. Valeira's eyes widen. No! Gressrin blurts it first. This is bad. Solvin straightens, his hand tightening on the railing. The Nighthorn clan? That's the second strongest group in the whole tournament. Their power's not that far behind too. Valeira stares at the emblems in the sky, lips parted. She doesn't speak right away. When she does, her voice is low. Even if we use our last trump card, it won't be enough. We'd still lose. And worse, we'd waste it. Solvin frowns, turning to her. So what, we forfeit? No one answers. Not yet. Alex watches her in silence, his arms folded. His eyes narrow, not judgmental, just curious. Amused. He's seen her in a fight. Now he wants to see what she does when the fight hasn't started but the walls are already closing in. Beside him, Carnessa leans forward slightly, her fists balled at her sides. She doesn't speak either, but her expression is drawn tight. She hates this feeling. She hates it. Her Tier 3 strength might as well be mud in a storm like this. She knows it. Everyone here knows it. Valeira slowly breathes in through her nose, then exhales, steadying herself. No, she says finally, quiet but firm. We don't forfeit. Solvin raises an eyebrow. Then what? Valeira's gaze doesn't leave the arena floor. We fight, but not to win. We hold our ground. By time. We show we belong here. That's all we need. Carnessa said lowly. You think they're gonna go easy? No, she says. But if we're smart, we can survive long enough to make it count. She turns toward her team. Her jaw is set, and her voice hardens. We already made it into the top 5. That means we're not weak. Let's remind them of that. Alex watches her, one corner of his mouth twitching upward. Not a smile, just the flicker of interest. Valeira's spine straightens, and she steps away from the railing. We go. The crowd begins to murmur as the platforms slowly descend. Tension crackles in the air. Then the announcer's voice cuts through it. Louder, sharper, laced with gleeful disbelief. Well, well, well. Is this the end of the Ashedge clan? Or are we about to witness another miracle? A few in the crowd cheer. Most stay quiet, unsure. Chapter 229. Ashedge clan versus Nighthorn clan. The stone platform settles with a low grind, and the 2 teams step into the arena. The crowd leans forward. At the center of the field, the heir of the Nighthorn clan stands tall. Dvrik, wrapped in a black coat of scaled leather and cold iron, blades strapped across his back in an X shape. His eyes, dark and unreadable, land directly on Valeira. Valeira, he says evenly, voice low but clear enough for the arena's magic to carry it. Our clans have been on good terms for years. Valeira keeps walking. No hesitation. Her boots echo against the stone. He narrows his eyes slightly. But I won't go easy on you. Valeira stops a few paces from him. The arena's lights catch the dark metal of her armored coat, the bow slung over her shoulder reflecting a faint violet hue. She meets his gaze without flinching. Fine by me, she replies coolly. It's not like I ever wanted you to. Dvrik gives a faint nod, one of respect, maybe, but there's no warmth in it. The moment stretches, heavy and silent. Then, clack, Valeira unslings her bow in one smooth motion. A low hum pulses through the air the moment her hand touches the grip. Clack. Solvin draws his twin daggers, thin, curved, and gleaming like liquid silver under the sunlight. Blue veins of energy pulse along their edge, reacting to his aura. Clack. Gressrin unhooks his massive kite shield from his back, planting its obsidian blue edge against the ground. Runes light up across its surface like a constellation coming alive. The crowd erupts, gasps, screams, then stunned silence. A breath later, the announcer's voice cuts through the noise, shaky, incredulous. What? What's this? The Ash Edge clan? All three of their core fighters. They're wielding quasi-tier 6 weapons. Cheers break out from pockets of the audience. Others simply sit stunned, unable to process what they're seeing. So that's why they reached 5th place in Stage 1. They weren't bluffing after all. The magic projection above zooms in on the weapons. The grain of Valeira's bow, carved from ancient wood, its runes faintly glowing with wind and starlight. The jagged silhouette of Salvan's daggers. The layered magic patterns across Gressrin's mountain-forged shield. The Ash Edge clan, the announcer bellows now, is going all out this year. The arena shakes as the two teams take their final positions. Across from them, Dvrik narrows his eyes. His teammates whisper to each other. Two reach for their weapons, the others already channeling mana. Their confidence shifts slightly. Not gone, but checked. Valeira pulled the string, and an arrow of mana slowly formed. Salvan crouches, his stance low and predatory. Gressrin plants his shield, mana flaring in waves around him like a fortress waking up. Dvrik watches. He reaches over his shoulder slowly, gripping one of the blades across his back. Dvrik draws the blade with a clean SHHHK. A wicked saber curved like a predator's fang, etched with dark crimson runes that flicker like blood in firelight. Mana rises around him like steam off a fresh kill. And then he speaks, quietly, without mockery, but with iron certainty. You know, Dvrik says, his gaze fixed on Valeira, even with that weapon, your group won't be able to defeat us. He steps forward once, his voice steady as stone. All it's going to do is make your defeat longer. Valeira doesn't blink, doesn't flinch. Instead, she breathes in and smirks. That's fine by me, she says. I wasn't planning to make it easy. The battle erupts. Ding. Boom. Mana surges. Dust explodes beneath their feet as both sides leap into motion. Dvrik lunges forward like a shadow splitting from the earth, faster than his size should allow. His blade already swinging down in a black arc. Valeira twists away just in time, her boots skimming the edge of his strike as it carves a groove through the stone platform like it's sand. Clang! Valeira lands and immediately rolls, a glowing arrow of compressed wind already forming over her bowstring. She looses it, FWIP, straight toward Dvrik's back. He doesn't turn. He just swipes behind himself, mid-step, and slashes the arrow out of the air. The wind detonates, sending a blast of force in all directions. Dvrik slides with the gust, using it, twisting his hips to redirect his momentum, and launches himself at Valeira again. Clash! She blocks with her bow. Not the string, the curve of the weapon reinforced with a pulse of mana. The impact jolts through her arms, the blow heavy enough to rattle her bones. She grits her teeth and kicks off his chest, backflipping twice to gain space. The moment her feet hit the ground, thwip thwip thwip, 3 more arrows sail toward Dvrik like a storm of blades. But Dvrik doesn't retreat. He rushes through them, his blade flashing, 1, 2, 3, each arrow destroyed before it can explode. The last detonation kicks up a blinding dust cloud. Valeira's already moving. Wind step. She vanishes. The dust swirls empty for a beat. Then boom, Valeira appears 10 meters above, bow fully drawn. Her voice echoes across the arena. Tier 5 skill. Skybreaker Fang. The arrow glows white-hot, spinning midair with violently compressed wind. It screams as it flies. FWM. Dvrik looks up and braces. Instead of blocking, he plants his feet, clenches his jaw, and raises one hand. His blade planted into the ground at his side. Boom! The arrow slams into the space just in front of him, exploding in a shockwave of bladed wind that tears the stone apart, flinging debris in every direction. The audience gasps as half the arena's tiles fracture. The smoke coils upward. Stone cracks hiss with residual heat. Dust drifts like ash over the ruined half of the arena. And out of that haze, Dvrik steps forward, his coat torn, blood running down his arm, but his eyes steady. He lifts his saber again, black mana spiraling along its edge like flame drawn to a breath. She's really pushing him, someone whispers from the crowd. And then the announcer's voice rings out again. Louder now, charged with disbelief and awe. Unbelievable! Ladies and gentlemen, what we're witnessing right now is nothing short of historic. He pauses for a beat, letting the sound of wind and battle fill the silence. Valira of the Ashedge clan, a low-level tier 6, is fighting evenly against Dvrik Nighthorn, who stands at high-level tier 6. The difference in base power alone should have ended this match already. Another shockwave blasts across the field as the two clash again. Clang! Valira slamming her mana-forged bow against Dvrik's descending blade. Sparks fly. But it's not just her skill. The announcer breathes. That weapon. That bow. The camera orb above zooms in on the faint starlight glow along the bow's spine as Valira flips back, knocking another arrow without pause. That's the power of a quasi-tier 6 weapon. Only a breath away from true tier 6 legend. Dvrik staggers from the rubble, bleeding now, but grinning. I should congratulate you, Valira. You made me bleed with just your low-level tier 6 strength. He mutters. Valira pants, blood soaking her waist. Save your congratulations, she growls. I'm not done yet. Dvrik's aura flares. The heat of their clash rips through the air. Valira dashes in again, relentless. But across the arena, the scene is very different. Gresrin stumbles to one knee, his shield cracked along the top ridge, obsidian chips flying off with every strike. His opponent, a cold-eyed woman wielding a twin-headed axe, advances step by brutal step, her aura flaring in brutal, controlled pulses. Middle tier, tier 5. She slams the axe down. Clang! Gresrin blocks with everything he has, knees buckling from the impact. His own mana flares out, barely reinforcing the ground beneath his boots. GHH! He grits his teeth, veins bulging across his arms. Behind him, the announcer's voice cuts through the roar of battle. Let's not forget, even with quasi-tier 6 weapons in hand, Solvan and Gresrin are only at peak tier 4. That's a whole tier below the enemies they're fighting. The camera orb snaps to Solvan, spinning and sliding low across the stone. His silver daggers clashing again and again with a whip-wielding swordsman whose movements are just slightly faster, slightly sharper. Another slash. Solvan blocks one, ducks another, but the third clips his shoulder. Blood sprays. He gasps and staggers, blinking sweat from his eyes. But he doesn't fall. He snarls and slashes upward, catching the whip mid-swing with one dagger and hurling a mana burst with the other. The enemy blocks it with ease, but the pause gives Solvan a breath of space. The announcer exhales, the tension in his voice high now. It's already a miracle they're still standing. Chapter 230. The Mysterious Tier 4. The crowd stays locked onto the central clash. Valira and Dvrik exchanging savage blows under a sky of broken mana and fire. The arena rumbles. Screams and gasps echo like thunder. But in the far corner of the stage, just outside the spotlight, a different kind of fight is happening. No magic projection is tracking it. No camera orb hovers overhead. But a few sharp-eyed spectators near the lower stands have noticed. Hey! One guy mutters, leaning forward in his seat, squinting past the haze and dust. That guy over there. Do you see him? His friend blinks, confused. Huh? Who? There. He points. That one. Look, he's fighting two people. Two low-level tier 5s. The friend squints, then his eyes widen. Wait, what? You're right. And he's not down yet. What the hell? The first guy shakes his head slowly. It's weird. His movements look clumsy at first, like he's gonna get hit. Then suddenly he dodges. Perfectly. Just at the last second. They both lean closer, lips parted. Down on the arena floor, in the jagged shadow of a collapsed stone spire, the fighter in question exhales slowly. His hair is a mess. His coat is ripped at the sleeve. But his eyes are clear, focused. Two enemies circle him. Both are armed. Both Tier 5. Their auras pulse with heat and pressure. He doesn't flinch. One of them lunges forward with a blast of fire magic, twin scimitars blazing red. The other sweeps low with a wind blade, aiming for his legs. The fighter leans just slightly. The scimitars barely miss his neck. He turns. The wind blade tears past his shoulder, grazing fabric. He ducks. Bang! His elbow drives into the ribs of the fire user. The scimitars fall out of rhythm. He kicks backward, catching the other fighter in the knee and breaking their stance. The crowd doesn't see it. The camera orbs are locked on Valeira, Dvrik, Gresrin, Salvan. But that small corner of the arena, that moment, is pure practice chaos. A third voice, an older man nearby, murmurs under his breath. That's not just instinct. That's prediction. One of the others stares. But he's only Tier 4. Middle-level Tier 4 at best. How the hell's he? Back to the center of the battlefield. The smoke begins to settle. The clamor of the crowd dies down as a brutal silence creeps into the arena. Gresrin lies motionless, face down near a fractured chunk of stone, his shield beside him. Salvan kneels a short distance away, one dagger buried in the ground to prop himself up, the other long since knocked from his hand. Blood seeps from a gash across his chest. His chest rises and falls, barely conscious. Only Valeira remains standing. Barely. She drags her bow back up with trembling arms, sweat and blood streaking her cheeks. Her breathing is ragged, and one leg shakes with every step. She turns slowly, and there, standing calmly in the center of the cracked and crumbling platform, is Dvrik. He's wounded, his coat slashed, one arm dark blood, but he's composed. Mana still swirls steadily around him, dense and cold like coiled smoke. He lifts his blade again. The runes along its curve glow darker now, sinking from red to black, and from black to void. He looks at her, no mockery, no gloating, just finality. "It's a good fight, Valeira," he says, voice low but steady. "You pushed me harder than I expected." He raises his sword with both hands. "In all of Ereborn," he says, voice carrying clearly through the arena, "my clan alone has mastered the true form of dark element combat. And now," his blade points to the sky, "I'll show you the technique passed down only through the blood of the Nighthorns." Darkness flares from the blade. First a ripple, then a roar. The mana in the air drops, like gravity thickening, pressing against everyone's lungs. Valeira's eyes narrow. She takes aim. "Come then." Dvrik speaks a single word. Tier 5, Oblivion Bloom. And the world darkens. The ground beneath him cracks, and black roses, shadow-formed and unnaturally still, burst upward from the broken stone in a perfect circle. Valeira fires. The arrow disappears into the field of black petals. Not deflected. Not blocked. Erased. What? Too late. The field expands in a flash. Boom! A dome of collapsing light and dark, tendrils of black flame lashing outward from Dvrik's blade like serpents. Valeira leaps back, firing again. Tier 4. Wind Pierce. Tier 5. Sky Split. But every arrow vanishes into the blooming chaos. She tries to wind step. The darkness grabs her ankle mid-flash. She tumbles, slams into the ground, coughing blood. Dvrik moves fast. He appears behind her in a blink, blade arcing down in a shadow trail. Just as the blade is about to fall on Valeira, something slams into Dvrik's senses. His body freezes mid-strike. A skill, no, not just a skill. Something dangerous. Something lethal. His instincts scream. He jerks back, canceling the finishing blow. Shadow mana recoils around him. A split second later, a streak of faint red light rips through the air where he had just stood. It passes harmlessly now, flickering out against the far wall of the arena. Dvrik lands lightly and narrows his eyes. What they? He glances toward the source and sees a boy, a young man, maybe 19, maybe 18. Messy hair, scuffed boots. His cloak is dusty, sleeves torn. He's got no noble crest, no engraved armor, no visible aura. He just stands there, calmly lowering one hand, as if he barely bothered to try. The crowd is still stunned from the last exchange. The camera orbs haven't even shifted yet. Dvrik's brows pull together. You! His tone is measured, confused but alert. Who are you? One of Ashej's recruits. The teen, Alex, smiles faintly. You could say that. Dvrik's eyes sharpen. Where are my two teammates? The ones sent after you and that monster slave. Alex tilts his head, pretending to think. Oh, those guys? They're over there. He jerks a thumb behind him. Sleeping. Probably having nice dreams, too. Dvrik's eyes flick to the far edge of the arena. And sure enough, just behind a shattered wall, lie his two low-level Tier 5's recruit, unconscious. Still breathing but bruised, bleeding, and very much down. A flicker of something unreadable passes across Dvrik's face. You're saying, he says slowly, you defeated both of them. As a middle-tier Tier 4. Alex shrugs. I was lucky. They started arguing. Got in each other's way. Classic mistake. From the ground, Valira lifts her head with effort. Alex? Her voice cracks. She stares at him, wide-eyed, bloody, confused. How did you survive? Alex gives her an innocent blink. Oh, you mean back there? I don't know. Those guys just kinda fell over. I think they tripped. Even in pain, Valira squints at him. You're lying. Dvrik watches Alex with a deeper frown now. His senses are screaming again, but not from anything visible. Not mana pressure, not killing intent. Just a strange, nagging wrongness. A gap between what is seen and what is real. Because the attack he felt earlier, that wasn't Tier 4. That was death. And yet this boy in front of him? He reads as nothing more than a strong recruit. Maybe promising but nowhere near threatening. Still, Dvrik doesn't lower his blade. He studies Alex with new caution. In the stands, those few spectators who noticed Alex's earlier fight begin shouting now. Hey, look over there. Zoom the camera. That kid. He just stopped Dvrik. The projection orb above finally swivels, locking on Alex for the first time. The crowd gasps. The announcer's voice crackles, shocked. What the hell is happening in the Ashej clan? The announcer blurts out, voice rising above the swelling roar of the audience. First, 3 quasi-tier 6 weapons. Now this. A mysterious recruit who just interrupted a Tier 5 finisher from Dvrik Nighthorn himself. The arena explodes in confused shouting and frantic speculation. Dvrik's stance tightens slightly, his dark blade humming with suppressed mana. But Alex ignores him. He walks calmly toward Valira, who's still kneeling, struggling to rise. Valira, Alex says quietly, his voice cutting through the chaos like a thread of steel. Do you really want to win? Valira's eyes widen. She stares at him, lips trembling. Yes, she whispers. Yes, I want to win. Her voice shakes, but not from fear. Because if we don't, my mother's condition. She won't survive another year. Her hands grip the stone. Her head bows. Tears run down her cheek, mixing with dirt and blood. If you can help me win, I'll do anything. Anything you ask. My clan. My family. They'll give you whatever you want. The silence that follows feels impossibly heavy. Chapter 231. Drawing the full power of the bow. Okay then, Alex says softly. Give me your bow. Valira's head jerks up. Her expression twists in confusion. What? I said give me your bow, Alex repeats gently. There's no arrogance in his tone. No drama. Just certainty. She hesitates. Her fingers tighten around the bow in her lap. Then slowly, still breathing hard, still bleeding, she reaches out and hands it to him. The moment Alex's hand touches the wood, boom, the entire arena lurches. A massive shockwave of pressure bursts outward from Alex's body. Not from his mana, but from the bow itself. It flares to life in his grip. The carved ancient grain pulses like it's alive, and the runes etched across it glow with a fierce, radiant silver. The faint starlight energy, previously dormant, is now roaring like wildfire. The camera orb zooms in. People stand up from their seats. What the announcer chokes. Take the bow. It's never reacted like that, even in Valira's hands. Dvrik takes a step back involuntarily. What is this? Without a word, Alex raises the bow. His expression doesn't change. Calm, focused, not posturing, not dramatic, just precise. He pulls the string. VMM. A slow, deep thrum vibrates through the entire arena as a flicker of fire forms between his fingers. No arrow. Just flame, dense, controlled, the shape of a projectile pulled into being by pure elemental will. It burns quietly at first. Then it ignites. A crimson blaze wraps around the formed arrow, spinning tighter and tighter. It's not a skill. No chant. No flash of tiered technique. Just a basic fire element arrow shaped through experience and amplified by a weapon. The bow sings. Then, FWIP. Alex releases it. A single streak of fire tears through the air, faster than lightning. No smoke, no hiss, just heat and velocity. Dvrik's eyes widen. His instincts scream again. He raises his blade just in time. Clang boom. The fire arrow slams into his saber. Dvrik skids backward, boots grinding hard against stone. Sparks and embers burst around him. His blade groans under the pressure. He clenches his jaw and digs in, muscles straining as the explosion ripples out. And finally, the arrow disperses in a flare of burning air. The crowd gasps. Silence falls. Dvrik's arms are shaking. He pants once, twice, eyes locked on Alex. His sleeves are scorched, his gauntlet cracked. He knows that was just a normal shot. That wasn't a skill, he mutters, voice low. Valira stares from behind Alex, lips parted in disbelief. She can barely speak. That was just a basic arrow? Alex lowers the bow slowly. Yeah, he says mildly. The announcer's voice returns, almost dazed. Ladies and gentlemen, that was a basic shot. And yet Dvrik Nighthorn, one of the strongest heirs of the Nighthorn clan, was forced to block it with both hands. The camera orb zooms in on Dvrik's face. Sweat beads on his brow. The announcer's voice shakes. He barely stopped it. Alex moves again. No flourish. No signal. He pulls another arrow, this one brighter, hotter. The air around the bow distorts from the heat alone. A shimmer of warping light coils around his arms as fire gathers once more, raw and unscripted. FWIP. Another shot. Faster. Dvrik doesn't block this time. He sidesteps, darkness folding around his legs as he dashes left. The arrow explodes behind him, searing across the stone and gouging a molten trench in the platform. He's fast. Dvrik swings his blade in a blur. Tier 5. Shade Crash. A wave of condensed dark mana bursts from his strike, ripping across the battlefield toward Alex. Alex doesn't flinch. He raises the bow, pivots, thwip. Fire arrow meets dark wave. Boom. An explosion splits the air between them, shockwaves flattening the smoke. Through the haze, Alex is already drawing again. Another. And another. Thwip. 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 For arrows fly in rapid succession. Fire screaming in the air. Dvrik's eyes widen, he's fast. Too fast for someone supposedly tier 4. He blocks one. Sidesteps the second. The third grazes his shoulder, burns through cloth and leaves a smoldering trail. The fourth, crack, slams into his blade, and this time the impact drives him backward. Dvrik's boots dig trenches into the stone. "Tsh," he grits out. The crowd is roaring now. On their feet. That's still a tier 4? Someone screams. Another voice. He's moving like a peak tier 5. Dvrik growls, black veins crawling along his right arm as he gathers mana. I don't know how you're drawing out the bow's full power, but I won't lose like this. He plants his foot, raises his blade. Tier 5, Void Pulse Slash. The ground ruptures as Dvrik vanishes in a shadow blink. He appears mid-air, blade descending, charged with pulsing dark energy. Alex watches him come, and fires upward. The arrow hits the rising blade mid-swing. Crockham. Fire and void detonate together in mid-air, blasting Dvrik off trajectory. He lands hard, knees bent, one hand skidding along the stone to recover balance. Alex is already pulling the next shot. No hesitation. No words. His fingers draw the string back slowly, fire swirling into another arrow. Tighter, hotter, deadlier. Dvrik's eyes lock on him. He knows he won't dodge this one. The last clash cracked his ribs. His arms are numb. He's fast, yes. Strong, yes. But he still have a human body. And the boy in front of him? Right now, he's fighting with the firepower of a quasi-tier 6. He's not a tier 4 anymore. FWIP. The arrow screams forward. Dvrik barely moves. Boom! It hits him square in the chest. A massive explosion erupts. Flames blooming outward in a sunburst, tearing apart stone and shadow alike. The platform shakes under the force. Smoke floods the air. For a breathless second, there's nothing but fire and ash. Then K. A ripple of golden light flashes at the center of the blast. A translucent dome appears. Fractured, humming, cracking, but still holding. A protective barrier. The crowd gasps. From the noble stands, gasps turn to murmurs of relief and awe. Oh, the Imperials. It activated. That shot would have killed him. The announcer's voice chimes in again, stunned and breathless. We just witnessed it, ladies and gentlemen. The Imperial Arena's Crown Safeguard Protocol has activated. That barrier only responds when a participant's life is in imminent danger. The camera orbs zoom in on the smoking zone. As the smoke clears, Dvrik is revealed. Still standing, but barely. His armor is scorched and cracked down the middle. His chest plate glows faint gold where the barrier caught the worst of the hit. His knees buckle. One eye is shut. Blood trickles down the side of his mouth. And his face, pure disbelief. He coughs once, ragged, then glares at Alex. The announcer finally speaks. Amazing. I don't believe it. His voice trembles before catching fire with emotion. And that's IT. A thunderous cheer rises behind his words. We have a winner for this round, ladies and gentlemen. The announcer roars, voice cracking with energy. Another miracle from the Ash Edge clan. Another unknown has just shaken the entire tournament. The crowd erupts. Chants, screams, shouted names. Alex's, Valira's. The stands come alive like a living storm. The projection orb shifts to center on Alex. Dust-streaked, calm, still holding the glowing bow. His cloak flutters in the heat waves rising from the scorched platform. Behind him, Valira clutches her chest in disbelief. Hours later, the light in the infirmary room is soft, golden. Sunset filters through the high, enchanted windows. The air smells faintly of healing salve and burned silk. Quiet. Valira stirs first. Her eyes flutter open. The ceiling above is unfamiliar. Smooth white stone. Clean lines. She recognizes it, Imperial Treatment Ward. High-tier recovery mages must have worked on them already. She groans softly and pushes herself up. Her bandages are gone. No pain. Just an echo of fatigue. To her right, Gressrin jerks awake with a loud snort. What? Did we win? Gressrin. Valira snaps, already alert. Yes, we won. But, listen Alex, he. Across the room, Salvin groans, rubbing his temple. Ugh, my head feels like it's going to explode. She doesn't wait for their full attention. She leans forward, her voice urgent. Fast. You two didn't see it. You were both out. But, Alex, he took my bow. And he used it. Not just used it. He used all the power of my bow. Gressrin blinks at her, still half-dazed. Then he squints. You're saying a Tier 4 used the full power of a quasi-Tier 6 weapon? Valira nods quickly. I saw it with my own eyes. Salvin stares. Valira, no offense, but that's impossible. Chapter 232. Etherheart Fruit. Valira exhales, almost frustrated. I know it's impossible. That's why I'm telling you, it shouldn't have been possible. Not without a Tier 6 strength. But it happened. Gresrin leans forward on the bed, his voice lower now. I believe you, but you're not the kind to lie about something like this. Salvin frowns. So, what are we saying, he's hiding his tear?
No.
He's not hiding anything. Valira mutters. He's just... Alex. Gresrin rubs the back of his neck, glancing toward the door. Then let's wait for him. I want to hear it from the guy himself. Valira nods. Yeah, let's just ask him. Almost like a cue, the door creaks open. Alex enters, quiet and composed. His coat is clean now, though the sleeves are still scorched at the edges. Behind him walks Carnessa. The moment he steps in, the room stills. Gresrin sits up straighter. Salvin blinks and shifts in his bed. More alert now. Valira watches him closely, eyes searching his face like she's still trying to understand what she saw earlier. Alex nods to them once. You're all awake. Good. Valira gives a short nod, not mocking, not forced. Respectful. That was something else. I don't think we'd be lying here if you hadn't stepped in. Alex gives a faint shrug, his tone calm. Don't mention it. As long as you didn't forget what you told me. Valira's gaze softens. She nods, serious. Of course. Promise is a promise. My clan's now ranked 5th after this victory. That's more than enough. Alex asked. More than enough? For what exactly? Valira breathes in deeply. From rank 1 to rank 5, the Empire grants each clan a Etherheart fruit. It will give 5 years of lifespan to whoever consumes it. My mother, she needs it. She doesn't have long. Alex's eyes widen a little. Oh? There's a fruit that gives you more life. Gresrin glances at Valira, lowering his voice. Wait. Valira, is it okay to tell him that? Alex isn't part of any faction or kingdom under the Empire. This stuff is supposed to be confidential. Valira looks at Alex, then back to Gresrin without hesitation. He won us the match. You saw what he did. I trust him. Alex will keep it to himself. Alex nods once. You have my word. I won't say a thing. But inside he's already celebrating. So the Empire does have a fruit like that. And it's given to the top 5 clans. That's valuable intel. Salvin exhales. With 5 more years, Madam has more time. That's all she needs to break through the next tier. Gresrin nods. Yeah. She's already at the limit of Tier 4. Give her 5 more years, and she'll definitely break through to Tier 5. Which means, Salvin adds, she gains 50 more years of life. Valira closes her eyes and lets out a breath she's been holding all day. That's why this win mattered so much. It wasn't just about prestige or pride. Alex walks over and leans against the wall, arms crossed. Carnessa yawns behind him, sprawling lazily on a low couch. Her eyes never leave Valira. I'm glad it helped, Alex says. There's a pause. Then Gresrin speaks again, more serious now. Gresrin clears his throat again, glancing at Alex. Say, Alex, if you don't mind me asking, how did you do it? Drawing out the full power of a quasi-Tier 6 weapon when you're still Tier 4? That shouldn't be possible, right? All eyes shift to Alex. Alex scratches the back of his head, looking almost sheepish. To tell you the truth, I don't really know. He pauses, then adds casually, I've been like this since I was a kid. As long as the weapon's not more than 2 tiers above my actual level, I can use it. Fully. Valira blinks. You mean no backlash? No resistance from the weapon at all? Alex shakes his head. None. It just works. Gresrin whistles low. That's not talent. That's something else entirely. Valira leans forward slightly, her tone thoughtful. You might actually be one of them, a real prodigy. Like the ones from the 3 main continents. Solvin frowns. You mean those freaks of nature? Valira nods. Yeah. Each of these prodigy are peak geniuses, people born with strange gifts or unnatural talents. They say every true prodigy has at least one unique ability. Something that doesn't follow the normal rules. Solvin turns back to Alex, wide-eyed. Wow. And yours is just using any weapon below tier 6 like it's yours? Alex shrugs. I guess. Never really thought too much about it. Carnessa smirks from her corner. My master is really impressive. Valira's expression turns thoughtful, the light from the enchanted windows catching the faint scar on her cheek. Still, we should keep your ability a secret. Alex raises an eyebrow. Why? Because if the Empire finds out, Valira says, her tone grave, they'll do everything in their power to rope you in. Recruit you, collar you, own you, whatever it takes. Prodigy like that? They don't leave it up to choice. Gresrin nods grimly. She's right. No prodigy has ever been born on this small continent. So if the Empire finds out about your existence, they'll go crazy. Alex doesn't look worried. If anything, he looks mildly amused. Noted. I'll keep a low profile. Alex glances at Valira. So, what's our next move? Are we heading to stage 3? Valira hesitates. Gresrin and Solvin both look at her, waiting for the call. After a moment of silence, she sighs and shakes her head. No. Let's drop out. Alex straightens slightly. You sure? Valira nods. Resolute. I already got what I wanted. We reached 5th rank. That's all I needed for the Etherheart fruit. She glances at her 2 teammates. Besides, look at us. We might be standing, but we're not whole. Our bodies are healed, sure, but our cores are still drained. We won't be able to fight again at full strength anytime soon. Solvin leans back with a groan. Yeah, I still feel like I got flattened by a dragon. Gresrin grunts in agreement. Same here. I don't think I could swing my weapon straight right now, even if you paid me. Valira turns back to Alex. You've already done more than we asked for. We'll pull out before we burn out. Alex crosses his arms again, thinking it over. Makes sense. Better to walk away after a win. Valira smiles faintly. Exactly. Solvin stretches, his long limbs cracking. Good. That means more rest time. I like this plan. Alex glances at her, then at the others. All right, then it's settled. In the afternoon, the gates of the Imperial City loom behind them, sunlight gleaming off the polished stone. The Ashedge clan's carriage rumbles steadily along the main road, flanked by a pair of lightly armed escorts. Velvet curtains are drawn halfway, letting the wind carry in the sounds outside. And the sounds are loud. Cheers. Chants. A flood of waving hands and excited voices echo through the street as they roll by. Children wave flags hastily painted with Ashedge colors. Merchants pause at their stalls to clap. Even nobles from their balconies nod in acknowledgement. Valira peeks out the window and her eyes widen. There's so many of them. Gresrin chuckles from his seat. Looks like we picked up a fan base. Carnessa said lowly. You mean my master picked up a fan base? She jerks her chin toward Alex, who's sitting quietly, gaze fixed out the window. Solvin whistles, leaning over to get a better look. Would you look at that? He mutters. When we came here, people laughed at us, looked down on us, like we didn't even belong in the same arena. He grins. Now, they're waving us off like we're war heroes. Valira sits back, still dazed. It's kind of surreal. Alex just watches in silence. His face unreadable, but his fingers tap lightly on the window frame, like he's thinking. Outside the city gates, just beyond the cheering crowds, a lone figure waits near a stone marker by the road. Middle-aged, broad-shouldered, gray streaks in his tied-back hair, dressed in travel-worn armor with a thick forest green cloak hanging down his back. His presence is quiet but sharp, like a blade that's seen 1,000 battles but hasn't dulled once. Valira spots him through the open window and straightens suddenly. Her eyes light up, That's Uncle Hadrick. Gresrin lifts the curtain, squints. Ha! You sure? I'm sure, Valira says quickly, already reaching for the door latch. He's my mother's old squad mate. She used to call him a wall that never falls. Chapter 233, Ironvale City. Alex leans forward slightly, eyes narrowing. Just for a second, his system flares to life behind his eyes, scanning. Target identified. Hadrick Velmarth. Race, human. Tier, middle level tier 6. Alex blinks once, uninterested. A middle tier tier 6. Not bad for this continent. The carriage slows to a halt. Valira jumps down first, her voice warm. Uncle. Hadrick smiles faintly as she runs up. Valira, you've grown sharper. His voice is deep, calm, like someone who doesn't need to raise it to be heard.
Antayer.
Your mother will be proud. Valira grins. We made it to 5th. We got the fruit. I know. He glances past her, toward the carriage. And I know who got you there. Alex steps down quietly, Carnessa behind him. Their eyes meet. Hadrick's smile tightens just slightly. Not cold, but calculating. So, you're the boy. Alex returns the look evenly. Alex. Hadrick studies him for a second longer, then suddenly laughs, loud and hearty, the kind of laugh that echoes across a battlefield. Ha ha. Good boy, he says, clapping Alex hard on the shoulder. Strong eyes, steady step. I like you already. You've got the feel of someone who doesn't flinch, even when death is at his doorstep. Alex doesn't react much to the slap. Doesn't flinch, doesn't smile. He just nods once. Thanks, he says simply. Hadrick turns, glancing at the rest of the group as they file down from the carriage. You all did good. Real good. But let's not pretend the outcome wasn't tilted by this young man here. He gestures toward Alex again, eyes twinkling. The entire Ash Edge clan owes you more than words. Salvin smirks. Uncle Hadrick giving someone else praise? That's a first. Gresrin grins. Someone write it down. It's historic. Hadrick waves them off, still smiling. Bah, you kids. When someone saves your name from becoming a footnote in history, you give him the respect he deserves, especially when he does it with style. He looks back to Alex, voice steadying. From this point until we reach the clan grounds, I'll be your sword and your shield. Anything that comes near us with bad intentions dies before it can speak. Before anyone can respond, a faint humming sound rises in the distance. Low at first, like a song carried by wind. Then it sharpens, growing louder and steadier. Everyone turns. Over the trees ahead, sleek and shining, a small vessel descends from the clouds. Shaped like a boat but clearly meant for the skies, it glides silently through the air before coming to a smooth stop just beside the road. Its hull glows faintly with runic engravings. Gold-trimmed wings fold inward as it lands. The moment it touches down, Valira gasps. No way. Gresrin stumbles a step forward. That's, Salvin blurts. That's one of the clan's aerial boat. Valira nods quickly, awestruck. There's only one back home, and it's kept in the high vault. Gresrin stares at it like it might vanish if he blinks. There's no way they sent that just for us. Even Carnessa, usually calm and aloof, steps closer to get a better look. Her eyes gleam faintly, reflecting the ship's soft glow. It's beautiful. Hadrick chuckles under his breath. Well, like I said, you guys didn't just win a match. You made waves. But Alex only gives the ship a single blank glance. Then he turns away like it's nothing worth mentioning. In his mind, he casually pulls up his system inventory. Inventory: Sky-class Imperial Cruiser, X1. Phantom Lancer Glider, X2. Obsidian Dread Barge, X1. Mirage Veil Skiff, X3. He doesn't say a word. The group boards the flying vessel, its doors opening with a quiet hiss. Hadrick follows behind them, taking the rear. The ship lifts into the air soon after, and with a soft pulse of light, it cuts through the sky. Fast, smooth, and silent. Nothing happens during the journey. No ambushes, no beasts, no hidden attacks in the clouds. For 2 full days, they glide over forests, hills, and mountain passes without a hitch. They camp once in a guarded watchtower, and the rest of the time they fly. Then, on the 2nd evening, just as the sun begins to dip into the horizon, "There it is," Hadrick says from the front deck, pointing. Ahead of them, nestled in a valley between towering cliffs, lies a sprawling city of stone and steel. Alex's eyes narrow. The city is enormous, easily 3 times the size of the city they just left. It stretches in all directions, built in layers that rise like steps along the hills. The outer wall alone could crush an army. Thick, gleaming with runes, and guarded by dozens of high watchtowers. Gresrin whistles. "Home, sweet home." Hadrick glances back at them, the wind tugging at his cloak. "Welcome to Ironvale," he says. "Heart of the Ashedge clan." The ship angles downward, and they descend. As the aerial vessel lowers toward the landing platform outside Ironvale's massive outer gate, they spot horses already waiting at the base. Each mount is groomed to perfection, their armor polished and cloaks bearing the Ashedge crest fluttering in the wind. Even Carnessa has one sleek, dark-coated, with eyes like amber glass. Her brows rise slightly. "They gave me one?" she murmurs. Valaira grins. "Of course, you are also part of the team." Carnessa hesitates, glancing down at the reins in her hand. The horse snorts softly beneath her. After a moment, she turns her head slightly toward Valaira. "Thank you," she says quietly. Valaira blinks, a little surprised. Carnessa doesn't speak often, especially not first. But she smiles. "You earned it. You fought with us. You bled with us. The clan honors that." The group finishes mounting, Hadrick leading them through the final stretch toward the city gates. The closer they get, the louder the sounds become: cheering, drums, horns. As the massive gates swing open, the sight that greets them draws stunned silence from even the most composed. The road is lined with people. Not just guards or soldiers, citizens, families, elders, and children. Everyone has come out. Banners bearing the Ashedge sigil wave proudly from rooftops. Streamers flutter from balconies. Flowers are thrown into the path ahead of them. Someone calls out, "They've returned," and the cry is picked up by dozens more. "Victory! Young Lady Valaira has returned. All hail young Lady Valaira." Cheers explode from every corner of the entrance plaza. Valaira blinks rapidly. I didn't think." Gresrin laughs, clapping her on the back. "Of course they're here. You brought back the Etherheart fruit and brought the clan into the top 5. They've been waiting to see you walk through that gate since the rankings were announced." Salvin adds, "You just became a living legend, Valaira. Better get used to it." As the horses trot slowly into the heart of Ironvale, flanked by a roaring crowd and showered in petals, Alex lets his gaze drift across the tall stone buildings, the towers laced with enchantments, and the people cheering like they've just been saved. He says nothing. Shortly after the procession wins its way through Ironvale's bustling main avenue, the group arrives at a massive estate, more fortress than mansion. Sprawling courtyards stretch to either side, marble pillars rise high, and the banners of the Ashedge clan flutter atop every tower. The central building looms like a palace, its entrance flanked by armored statues and twin waterfalls cascading into glowing stone basins. At the top of the grand staircase, waiting in silence, stands a tall, broad-shouldered man with weathered skin and iron-gray hair slicked neatly back. His cloak is trimmed with crimson silk, his tunic embroidered with the clan's sigil in gold thread. His eyes, sharp, tired, and unwavering, are fixed directly on Valaira. Valaira spots him the moment they reach the base of the steps. Her breath catches. "Father!" She slides off her horse before it even comes to a full stop and runs, armor clinking, boots thudding softly against stone. The man doesn't move. He waits, arms behind his back, gaze steady. When Valaira reaches him, she stumbles to a stop, and the words burst out of her, cracked with emotion. "I did it. I brought it back. The Etherheart fruit." Mom will live. Her voice breaks. And then, for the first time since leaving the capital, Valira's composure shatters. She throws herself into her father's arms. Tears stream down her face. Her voice comes out muffled, pressed against his chest. We made it to 5th, thanks to Alex. Chapter 234. Ashedge clan leader, Velcane. The man finally moves, his arms close around her. Firm, protective, steady as stone. He holds her tightly, one hand gently pressing the back of her head. You did more than I ever asked of you, he says softly. His voice, unlike his appearance, is quiet, warm. You've brought honor to our name. You've brought hope to your mother. And you've made me proud, beyond words. Valira sobs, shoulders shaking. Gresrin and Solvin dismount in silence, watching the scene with softened expressions. Carnessa looks down, her grip on the reins tightening slightly, something unreadable flickering behind her eyes. Alex watches as well, quiet and still. The man lifts his head, looking past his daughter. His gaze finds Alex. He studies Alex for a long moment. Then, with calm steps, he releases Valira gently and walks down the few remaining stairs until he stands before him. Eye to eye. You must be Alex, the man says, voice rich with weight and age. I've heard your name more than 100 times since word reached us. But seeing you now, I understand. He pauses, eyes narrowing slightly, not with suspicion, but with appraisal. I can feel it. There's something extraordinary about you, not just strength. Something deeper. Alex meets his gaze without flinching. And you must be Valira's father. A faint smile touches the man's lips. Velcane Ashedge, clan leader, and a very grateful father. He turns slightly, motioning to the open doors behind him. Come inside, all of you. We've prepared a feast. The entire estate will celebrate tonight. For Valira's return. And for the one who made it possible. He looks to Alex again. You especially, Alex. You're our honored guest now. Valira wipes the last of her tears, still sniffling but smiling. Come on, she says quietly to Alex. You've earned it. The grand doors of the Ashedge estate swing open with a deep, resonant creak, revealing a hall bathed in warm golden light. Inside, the scent of roasted meats, fresh herbs, and sweet fruits fills the air. Long banquet tables stretch across the stone floor, covered with platters piled high. Smoked boar, seared riverfish, glazed root cakes, mountain grapes, golden rolls dripping with butter. A band of minstrels plays near the far wall, their stringed instruments weaving cheerful melodies over the soft hum of celebration. Servants move like clockwork through the room, pouring wine, lighting candles, and offering trays to the guests as the heroes enter. The hall erupts in cheers again when Valira steps inside. People raise their cups and toast her name, but Alex barely glances at the crowd. His eyes scan the room once. Carnessa pauses just inside the doorway, her eyes wide. She stares at the tables, at the mountains of food, more than she's ever seen in one place. Roasted vegetables glisten with oil. Baskets of fresh bread steam under embroidered cloths. Silver trays of fruit and desserts gleam beneath the chandelier light. She doesn't move. Alex steps beside her, his voice quiet. Go on. She doesn't answer. Her fingers clutch each other tightly in front of her. I know that look, he says. Alex tilts his head, then simply adds, Eat all you want, Carnessa. No one's going to stop you. Her lips part slightly, but the words don't come. Slowly, cautiously, she steps forward. She takes a small roll from a basket, then another. Then she moves on to the sliced meat, picking just a few pieces, glancing around like someone might yell at her. No one does. Alex watches her for a moment longer, then walks toward a quieter corner of the hall and leans against a pillar, arms folded. Valira finds him not long after, slipping away from a small crowd of well-wishers with a faint sigh and a half-drunk goblet in hand. Her steps are quick but quiet, and when she reaches him, she leans against the opposite side of the pillar with a tired smile. Why are you hiding over here? She asks, tilting her head. Alex's eyes flick to her, then return to the revelry. Loud and crowded places aren't really my thing. Valira chuckles softly. Same. She takes a slow sip of her drink. I'm so tired of talking to people. Smiling, nodding, saying the same 3 lines over and over. Yes, we made it to 5th. Yes, we got the fruit. No, I didn't lose a limb. Alex huffs lightly through his nose. Sounds exhausting. It is. She lets her head rest briefly against the stone. Honestly, I just wanted to sit down with a bowl of soup and sleep for a week. A moment of silence settles between them. Calm, comfortable. Then Valira speaks again, quieter this time. My mom. She said she wants to thank you personally. Tomorrow, after she's stable enough to see visitors. Alex nods. It's fine. I don't mind. Valira turns her eyes toward him. She really means it. You saved her life, Alex. If we were even a day late, the healer said. Her voice trails off. I know. She takes a breath, then offers him a small, grateful smile. Also, your reward. My father. He'll talk to you tomorrow. Ask what you want. Alex raises a brow slightly. And if I say I don't want anything? Valira shrugs. Then he'll still give you something anyway. That's how he is. Alex leans back a little, thoughtful. I'll think about it. Valira smirks. You should. It's not every day you get offered a reward by one of the strongest clans in the continent. He gives a faint nod, and for a few seconds, they just stand there, away from the clamor and music, sharing a brief moment of quiet in the heart of celebration. The next morning, light pours gently through the tall windows of the guest chamber. The silk curtains shift with the breeze, rustling softly. Alex opens his eyes. He's alone. The silence is noticeable. No breathing beside him, no presence in the room. Carnessa has been given her own quarters. He sits up slowly, the sheets cool against his skin. For a moment he just breathes. Then he stands and walks barefoot toward the balcony. Beyond the carved archway, Ironvale stretches out beneath him. Sunlight gilding rooftops, smoke curling from chimneys, guards marching along rune-lined walls. It's peaceful. But Alex's expression is unreadable. His eyes scan the horizon, past the outer walls, toward the distant mountains, and beyond them, the unseen territories. His army is moving. Fortresses are falling. He doesn't need to give direct orders. The system moves with purpose, with logic, with inevitability. He exhales through his nose. But if they stand in the way, he doesn't finish the thought. He doesn't need to. If they block his conquest, then like everything else, they'll burn. Suddenly, a soft knock breaks the stillness. Tap tap. Alex turns his head slightly. Come in. The door opens partway, and a young maid peeks through. She bows quickly. Good morning, Sir Alex. The clan leader is requesting your presence. He's waiting in his working chamber. Alex nods once. Understood. The maid bows again, then gently closes the door. Alex makes his way through the quiet halls of the estate, the morning sunlight streaming through tall, arched windows. The stone underfoot is warm from the early sun, and the servants bow as he passes, whispering his name behind cupped hands. No one stops him. When he reaches the east wing, 2 guards stationed outside a tall wooden door step aside wordlessly. One of them opens it for him. Inside is a wide chamber, less formal than a throne room, but still commanding in its presence. Bookshelves line the walls, filled with thick tomes and old scrolls. Weapons of different eras are displayed behind enchanted glass. At the center, a wide desk of darkwood sits beside a massive window overlooking a garden pond. Velcane is already there. He stands beside the open window, a simple mug in hand, dressed not in ceremonial garb but in a black sleeveless tunic and bracers, his scars and gray-threaded muscles fully visible in the morning light. He turns when he hears the door close behind Alex. Velcane gestures casually toward one of the chairs by the desk. Sit down, Alex. Alex steps forward and lowers himself into the seat without a word. Velcane sets his mug down, then rests both hands on the edge of the desk. His eyes settle on Alex with that same quiet, weighty gaze from the night before. So, he begins, tell me, what do you want? As long as it's within the ability of my Ashedge clan, I'll see it done. Chapter 235. The Smith Zansen. Alex's voice is calm, unhurried. To tell you the truth, I don't really need anything. Velcain raises a brow slightly. No? Alex leans back slightly in the chair, resting an arm along the side. Valira told me there's someone in Ironvale. A smith. She said he's capable of forging a quasi-tier 6 weapon. Velcain exhales through his nose. Ah, so that's what you're after. He gives a short nod. Are you planning to request something from him? Yeah. Velcain chuckles. I thought so. Well, you're not wrong, he's a rare talent. One of the finest craftsmen I've ever met. But I'll be honest with you, Alex. He's not part of the clan. Alex's gaze doesn't change. That a problem? Not exactly, Velcain says with a shrug. But it means I can't order him around. Believe me, we've tried. We've offered him land, titles, a seat on the council. Man just shrugged and told us he doesn't to join any forces. Yet he's still here. He is, Velcain confirms, been living quietly in my territory for the past decade. Says he likes the mountains. Helps us out when he feels like it, though he's never succeeded in forging a true tier 6. Always stops just short. Says something's missing. He waves a hand. I'm rambling now. Point is, you can meet him if you want. I'll send someone to take you to his forge. There's a short pause. Then Velcain leans forward slightly, his tone turning sincere. But let me ask you again. You really don't want anything else? No favor? No wealth? No name, no title? You saved my wife's life. That's not something we forget. Alex simply shakes his head once. I'm good. Velcain studies him for a beat longer. Then slowly he nods. Then at least take this. He reaches into a drawer and produces a small, polished token. It's obsidian black, shaped like a fong, and engraved with the Ashedge sigil in bright crimson. He places it gently on the desk between them. This marks you as an honored guest of the Ashedge clan, Velcain says. Wherever you go in our territory, this will speak for you. Soldiers, merchants, they'll treat you like a VIP. You may not want a reward, but this is respect. And I insist. Alex looks at the token for a moment. Then he reaches forward and picks it up. I'll take it. Velcain gives a slow, satisfied nod. Good. Then we'll leave it at that. He straightens and steps back toward the window, folding his arms behind him. I'll have someone escort you to his place. If anyone can craft what you're looking for, it's him. Alex rises from the chair and tucks the token into a hidden pocket inside his coat. Then he looks at Velcain with a calm, even tone. Can I go there alone? Just tell me where to find him. Velcain pauses, eyeing Alex for a moment, then nods. I figured you'd ask that. He steps over to a nearby shelf, pulls out a rolled parchment, and quickly sketches a rough map across the back of it with a bit of charcoal. His lines are clean, practiced. He lives up in the Hollowspine Range, Velcain says, tapping a point on the map. Take the east road out of Ironvale until it forks at the old mill. You'll want the narrower trail, don't get fooled by the wider one. Climb about 2 hours. You'll see a stone arch and a burned-out oak. His forge is built right into the cliffside just past it. Alex studies the map, then nods once. Velcain exhales and leans an arm against the desk. His name's Zansen, and just a warning, he's not the friendliest man alive. Grumpy old bastard. Speaks like he's chewing rocks. But if he likes you, he'll talk. Good enough, Alex says. Velcain gives a dry chuckle. He doesn't care about status or favors. Doesn't even care that I'm a clan leader. You show up with sincerity or skill, he'll hear you out. Alex turns toward the door. I'll head out now. Velcain nods once. Then I'll leave it to you. Alex follows the winding mountain path for nearly 2 hours, the air growing thinner and cooler as he climbs. When he reaches the burned-out oak and steps through the stone arch, the world opens onto a narrow ledge carved into the cliffside. Before him is a simple wooden door set into the rock, blackened at the edges by flame, with no sign or banner to mark it. A single iron ring hangs where a handle would be. Alex gives it a firm twist and steps inside. The forge is surprisingly modest. A single hearth burns low, embers glowing beneath a heavy bellows. Tools, hammers, tongs, files, hang from rough wooden pegs on stone walls streaked with soot. A wide worktable stands to one side, covered in metal scraps, folded scrolls of design sketches, and a half-finished blade that flickers with faint runic lines. A man sits on a low stool beside the hearth, back turned. His broad shoulders are draped in a leather apron, hair tied into a short, grizzled braid. The rhythm of his hammer on anvil is slow, deliberate. Alex clears his throat. The smith's hammer pauses. He turns, and Alex sees a face lined by years of flame and metal, dark eyes that burn with intensity. "Zanson?" Alex asks. Zanson's brow furrows in confusion. He sets his hammer aside and folds his arms, eyeing Alex with suspicion. "Kid," he says, voice low and rough, "how did you find this place? Did the Ashedge clan make my location public?" He TSSKS, shaking his head. "Leave, kid. I'm busy right now." Alex doesn't flinch. He reaches into his coat and pulls out the obsidian token Velcane gave him, holding it out by the edge. "They didn't make your location public," Alex says evenly. "I'm here because I requested to see you." Zanson's eyes narrow as he recognizes the sigil. He leans forward, studying the token, then laughs softly. "Oh," he mutters, "that's quite impressive. You have their honored guest token." He straightens and gives Alex a sharp look. "Kid, if you want to request I forge you something, you're out of luck. I'm busy right now. Come back next week." Alex's gaze is unwavering. "I'm not here to request." He steps closer to the hearth's glow. "What if I told you I can help you forge a Tier 6 weapon?" Zanson freezes, his eyes widening for the first time. Then, abruptly, he throws back his head and laughs, loud, booming, as if Alex has just recited the world's greatest joke. "Ha! You? Help me? Forge a Tier 6. He shakes his head, still chuckling. "You've got balls, kid. I'll give you that." In an instant, a heavy tome shimmers into existence in Alex's hand, pages fanning open on their own. The sudden crackle of arcane energy makes Zanson's eyes snap wide, and he stumbles backward, the laughter dying in his throat. Alex holds the book aloft, leather binding embossed with a single rune. "This," he says, voice calm and even, "is a Tier 6 smithing technique." Zanson's dark eyes burn with sudden greed as he leans forward, but the moment he does, a wave of pressure slams into him. Cold, merciless, undeniable. His breath catches. He glances at Alex, then gulps. That can't be," Zanson mutters, voice trembling. "Your presence. It's like standing before Velcane himself." His lips part in shock. "You're not just a kid." Alex steps forward, the air seeming to stiffen around him. "Now," he says softly, "are you ready to talk?" Zanson swallows, eyes darting between the book and Alex's unyielding gaze. With a slow nod, the smith straightens his apron. "All right," he rasps. "Let's talk." Zanson wipes sweat from his brow and motions toward a battered stool. "Well, what do you want?" Alex steps into the hearth's glow. "Just as I said outside, I can help you forge a true Tier 6 weapon, but on one condition." Zanson's dark eyes narrow. "Name it." Alex meets his gaze evenly. "You join my kingdom. Your skill would be invaluable to me, and in return, I'll ensure you have every resource you need." For a long moment, Zanson is silent, hammer in hand, brow furrowed in thought. Finally, he sets the tool aside and shakes his head. "You know, I told myself never to join any force. I work alone." He gestures to the half-finished blade on the table. "Without help, with only the Tier 5 technique I found when I was young, I managed to forge that." He taps the runic glow. "A quasi-Tier 6 weapon. I've been doing fine on my own. Chapter 236. The Blacksmith Zanson. Alex inclines his head. Until now. Zanson turns away, staring into the embers of the forge. He breathes in the heat, then out with a slow sigh. Damn you, kid. You make it sound so easy. He glances back, eyes hard. But if you truly have the means to take me the rest of the way, if you can give me access to the materials, all the knowledge I've been missing, then maybe it's worth it. Alex offers a faint smile. I'll send my best resources. You'll never want or runes or recipes again. Zanson's lip quirks into a grudging grin. Fine. I'll join your kingdom. But don't think I owe you loyalty beyond my craft. Alex nods. Understood. Zanson grunts and scratches at his beard. So then, what's the name of this mysterious kingdom of yours, your majesty? He says it with a half scoff, half smirk. You know, he continues, tossing another log into the hearth. I've been around, pretty familiar with all the kingdoms on this continent. Never heard of one with a brat like you on the throne. Alex's face remains still, calm, almost too calm. That's because, he says quietly, my kingdom isn't in this continent. Zanson pauses mid-motion, staring at him with a raised brow. What's that supposed to mean? Alex says nothing at first. Instead, he closes his eyes for a brief second, and the air ripples around him. A faint shimmer runs across his body. The subtle illusion fades. The smooth skin of a human melts away to reveal faint, scaled ridges along his jawline. His eyes shift, irises glowing like molten lava, pupils thin and vertical. A quiet, inhuman stillness replaces the air he once carried. The disguise is gone. Zanson stares, mouth slightly open. He slowly takes a step back, hand instinctively drifting toward the hilt of a tool at his belt, but he doesn't draw it. You're not human, he mutters, voice hoarse. Alex's gaze doesn't waver. No, I'm not. Zanson's throat works in a slow swallow. The firelight flickers over his face, casting shadows that deepen the lines of age and hard-earned solitude. Then Alex says calmly, Aren't you the same? Zanson stiffens. His eyes narrow. What did you just say? I know you're not fully human, Alex says, voice quiet but certain. You're half monster. For a moment, the only sound is the crackle of the forge. Then, slowly, too slowly, Zanson's expression twists. His skin pales, and a cold sweat beads on his brow. A subtle tremor creeps down his spine. How do you know that? He says low. I'm very careful about my identity. Alex shrugs lightly, his tone still calm. It doesn't matter how I know. Let's just say I have a way of seeing things others can't. Zanson stares at him for a long, tense moment, the fire's glow flickering in his eyes. Then, finally, he lets out a long sigh and lowers his gaze. Well, he mutters, I guess there's no point hiding it now. He glances up at Alex, a reluctant smirk tugging at the corner of his mouth. I'm half monster. My father was one. Don't know what kind exactly. My mother never told me. Every time I asked, she'd just go silent or get angry. Said it didn't matter. Alex watches him quietly, his eyes calm. I only know he wasn't human, Zanson said. Alex tilts his head slightly, eyes steady. Well, this is the first time I've seen a human and monster offspring. Zanson exhales, running a hand down his face. Yeah, that's because it's not normal. Zanson stares into the fire, his voice low and rough. Most humans don't even believe it's possible. But it is. Rare as hell, and even rarer that the child survives. I guess I got lucky. Alex narrows his eyes slightly. I'm just surprised you don't have any monster traits. Zanson lets out a dry snort. Oh, I do. Especially the strength. It's way beyond what any Tier 5 blacksmith should have. He pauses, then pulls back his shirt collar slightly, revealing a patch of dark, iridescent scales along his shoulder and collarbone. These cover most of my torso, arms, legs too. I file the ones on my hands to keep them from drawing attention. Alex studies the scales, nodding. Resembles a scale. Maybe something reptilian in your bloodline. Zanson grunts. Maybe. I don't know. My mother never told me what he was. Just said that I shouldn't go looking. Alex crosses his arms and leans slightly against the work table. Eyes still locked on the faint shimmer of scales beneath Zanson's collar. So that's why you've been hiding, he says quietly. Even with your skill, no one knows your name. No one even knows you're capable of forging quasi-tier 6 weapons. Zanson snorts under his breath. You're right. He turns, grabbing a pair of tongs from the hearth, though he doesn't use them, just holds them in his hands as if to ground himself. The only person I ever trusted with that truth is Velcane, he mutters. He exhales slowly. I've seen what happens when people like me get noticed. It's never good. If they find out what I am, what I can do, they either try to chain it, use it, or erase it. Zanson lets the tongs rest on the work table with a heavy clink, his shoulders relaxing ever so slightly. I'll come to you once I finish this blade for Velcane, he says, voice quieter now, almost reluctant. Though, truth be told, it'll probably end up another damn quasi-tier 6. I'm close, but something always slips through my fingers. Alex nods. All right, just find me in the city when you're done. As he says this, the air hums softly around him. In an instant, the same tier 6 smithing technique that materialized earlier reappears in his hand, floating just above his palm, glowing faintly with arcane energy. Alex steps forward and holds it out. Use this. It might help you succeed this time. Zanson's eyes widen slightly as he stares at the technique. His breath catches. Are you serious? He asks, voice rough. You're just giving this to me? Alex's expression remains steady. You're part of my kingdom now, Zanson. That means you're one of my people. And I take care of my people. Zanson doesn't take the technique right away. He just looks at it, then at Alex. But there isn't one. After a long pause, he slowly reaches out and takes it. The technique's energy flickers as it touches his hand, as if responding to his presence. He stares at it for a moment, almost reverent. Damn, he mutters. This is the real thing. Alex turns toward the door. When you're done with Velcane's weapon, come find me. I'll be waiting. Zanson glances at him, then down at the glowing technique in his hand. For the first time in a long while, he says slowly, I think I might actually pull it off. Alex glances back over his shoulder, a faint glimmer in his golden eyes. I know you will. After that, Alex leaves Zanson's forge without another word. The mountain air greets him outside, cool and quiet. He descends the narrow trail alone, the wind tugging gently at his coat. He doesn't look back. Over the next few days, Alex spends nearly all his time with Carnessa. They train in quiet clearings just outside the city, often by moonlight. Alex teaches her how to better control her innate bloodline ability, how to feel the blood around her, not just within herself, how to sense it, manipulate it, and eventually command it. Each lesson is slow and deliberate, but Carnessa absorbs everything like dry earth drinking rain. Good, Alex says one evening, watching as crimson threads coil from her fingertips into the dirt, controlled and precise. You're not forcing it anymore. Carnessa pants softly, sweat glistening on her brow. I can feel everything now. The pulse in the insects, even birds overhead. Alex nods. You're adapting faster than I expected. He's not exaggerating. In just a matter of days, Carnessa has advanced to high-level Tier 3. Her aura is denser, her movements sharper. Even the way she looks at people now, there's focus in her eyes that wasn't there before. At night, Alex give her blood-based skills. Each one suit her innate ability, and each time he does, her control improves. Thank you, she says one afternoon, wiping her palms clean after training. I'll do my best to get stronger as soon as possible. Chapter 237. Leaving the Ashedge clan. Alex stands across from her, arms crossed, golden eyes calm but measuring. Then, after a pause, he speaks. I might have a way to get you stronger faster. Carnessa straightens, her expression alert. Oh, She steps closer, her voice eager. What is it, master? Alex just smirks faintly. You'll know soon. Before Carnessa can press him, he turns away, already walking back toward the city. By the time they return to the manor, the sun is already low, casting warm orange light through the garden walls. As they step into the corridor, the sound of hurried footsteps echoes ahead. Alex! Valira rushes around the corner, eyes wide with urgency. She stops in front of him, breathing slightly fast, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. I finally found you. Alex tilts his head. Why? What happened? Valira glances around to make sure no one's close, then lowers her voice. That blacksmith I told you about. Alex nods slowly, his tone calm. Yeah. What about him? Valira leans in. He came over today, spoke with my father. He said he succeeded. He forged a Tier 6 weapon. Alex's eyes narrow slightly, though he doesn't show much surprise. So, Zanson finally pulled it off. With the technique I gave him, it was only a matter of time. And, he asks. Valira folds her arms. Well, no one else knows. Just me, father. And now you. Alex lets out a short breath through his nose, a faint smile tugging at the edge of his lips. That's great news, he says calmly. Your clan now has 2 Tier 6 weapons. Valira nods, though her expression is thoughtful, troubled, even. Yeah, in these past few days everything's been going great, actually. Too great. Alex asked. Is that a problem? She hesitates. It just feels like the calm before something bad. You know? Like we're being set up for a fall. Alex glances at her, then shakes his head slowly. Don't think about it. You'll lose your edge waiting for something that may never come. Valira exhales, then nods. Right? Alex's tone shifts slightly as he asks, by the way, is your clan planning to fight the invading monsters? Valira stiffens, then nods again. More firmly this time. We don't really have a choice. The monsters from the other continent are getting worse. Stronger, bolder. Even with some of the Empire's subordinate forces joining the war, they've only managed to slow the advance. Her voice drops slightly. Not stop it. She continues, since our clan is one of the Empire's subordinate houses, we have to join. My father's already preparing deployment orders. Alex's eyes narrow a touch, thoughtful. So, my forces can't advance anymore. They're being held back by the Empire's main line. But, he exhales internally. Since they haven't called me, it means things are still under control. For now. Alex turns his gaze out the window, eyes thoughtful. I guess it's time I return and start my summoning spree. Alex shifts his gaze back to Valira, his voice calm but resolute. Valira will be leaving tonight. Valira's expression falters. Her smile fades, and though she tries to keep her composure, the sadness in her eyes is clear. I see. She lowers her gaze, brushing a lock of hair behind her ear before speaking again. Softer this time. You don't really want to join my clan, do you? Alex doesn't answer. He doesn't need to. Valira looks up at him again. Eyes searching, voice just a little shakier. I thought maybe you would, after everything. Still, Alex remains silent, but the look in his eyes isn't cold, just steady. Valira lets out a quiet breath, then forces a small smile. Well, thank you for everything you've done. She glances toward the hall. Let me tell my father, at least, so we can see you off. My mother's, well, she's busy trying to break through to Tier 5. She's been locked in for days. Alex gently shakes his head. Don't bother. Valira blinks. Why? Alex's voice is low but final. Because I'm going now. Valira opens her mouth slightly, as if to protest, but stops herself. Her shoulders drop a little. I understand. Then Valira straightens, eyes flicking up to meet his. Be careful, Alex. Alex nods once. You too. He turns, cloak brushing against the floor as he walks past her. Down the corridor, and out into the fading light. Valira watches him go, her chest tight. I hope you come back someday, she whispers. though she knows he won't hear it. Inside a modest restaurant tucked along the quieter end of the city's main street, Alex sits at a table by the window. The place is calm, filled with the soft murmur of conversations and the occasional clatter of bowls and cutlery. Carnessa sits across from him, sipping quietly from a steaming cup, her eyes flicking to the door every now and then. Then the door opens, and in walks Zanson, brushing ash from his coat, a grin tugging at his scarred face. "Sorry for the wait," he says, stepping over to them. "That damn Velcane just wouldn't let me go. Kept giving me supplies, tools, enchantment manuals, you name it." Alex chuckles lightly, resting his hand on the table. "It's probably a good thing I didn't run into him before leaving. I might still be stuck there." Zanson pulls out a chair and sits, leaning back with a grunt. "No kidding." Alex looks at him steadily. "You good now? We'll be leaving right after this." Zanson doesn't answer right away. Instead, he turns his head, gazing out the window. The city outside is bathed in warm amber light, the streets bustling with people. Humans and Thier monster slave, side by side. No one's shouting. No one's chained. Laughter carries on the breeze. "You know," Zanson says slowly, "this city's like a damn paradise compared to the rest of the continent." He rests his arms on the table. "Even the monster slaves here, they're not being treated like animals. Back in most places, you're lucky if they let you sleep indoors." Alex nods slightly. "I saw it while roaming around." Zanson gives a half smile. Tired, but genuine. "I'm gonna miss it. Never thought I would. But I will." Alex pushes back his chair. "Then let's not drag this out." Carnessa stands as well, brushing dust from her cloak. She looks between the two of them. Outside, the last light of the day is fading behind the hills. The three of them step into the twilight, leaving behind the warm glow of the restaurant, the clink of cups, and the soft chatter. None of them look back. Inside one of Alex's sleek floating carriages, the gentle hum of enchanted propulsion fills the quiet air. The interior is spacious, lined with dark wood and subtle gold inlays, with cushioned seats facing each other. Outside the window, the last traces of city light fade as they ascend into the open sky. Carnessa sits beside Alex, her eyes fixed on the glowing skyline, but her mind clearly elsewhere. After a moment, she speaks, voice soft but certain. "Master, I've been dying to ask this." Alex glances at her. "Who are you really?" she continues. "Are you some kind of emperor?" Alex exhales, not surprised. "I suppose I never told you," he says. "I'm a king of a monster kingdom across the sea in the other continent." Carnessa blinks, her eyes narrowing slightly as she processes it. Her gaze drops, thoughtful. The silence stretches until she speaks again, more hesitantly this time. "Master, those monsters that have been invading this continent, the ones the Empire is fighting, are you?" She doesn't finish. Alex looks forward, his tone flat. "I am their king. They're my soldiers." Carnessa stiffens, the realization hitting harder than expected. Across from them, Zanson, who had been leaning back with his arms crossed, slowly turns his head to look at Alex. He stares, eyes wide with disbelief. "Are you serious?" Zanson says finally. "You could have mentioned that earlier." Alex shrugs slightly. "If I told you, it might have scared you off. You might not have wanted to join my kingdom." Zanson lets out a sharp breath, rubbing his face. "You think?" He leans forward now, voice low and cautious. "Are you confident about going against the Empire?" Alex's voice doesn't waver. "If I wanted to, I could destroy the Empire right now." Zanson stares at him. He's not joking. There's no boast in his tone. No exaggeration. Just quiet certainty. Then he adds, "What about the Ashedge clan? They're decent people." Alex's expression cools. "As long as they surrender, I won't do anything to them." Chapter 238. The Smithing Building. The floating carriage descends steadily through the cloud-dappled twilight. The golden spires of Clago City, capital of the Menash Kingdom, coming into full view. The city below is no longer human-led. The banners of Menash are gone, replaced with a flag bearing Alex's crest. As the carriage approaches the main gate, the soft hum of magic fades. Below, rows upon rows of monster soldiers, disciplined and fully armored, stand at attention on either side of the wide plaza, forming a corridor of reverent silence. The moment the carriage touches down, a visible wave of tension lifts. Then, 3 figures step forward from the front ranks and drop to one knee in unison. Gander speaks first, head bowed. "Welcome back, Your Majesty." Beside him, Mazel, massive and looming even while kneeling, lowers his axes with respect. On Gander's other side, Lysaria kneels gracefully. Her violet eyes flick up briefly, gleaming with quiet approval. Behind Alex, Carnessa and Zanson exit the carriage. The sight before them stuns them into silence. Hundreds, no thousands, of monsters in organized formation. Tiered armor gleams under the setting sun. None of them look ragged or wild. These aren't berserk beasts. These are soldiers. Zanson mutters under his breath. Holy hell! Carnessa doesn't speak. Her wide eyes are fixed on the 3 kneeling monsters in front. Power radiates off all of them. She can feel it in her blood. These people serve Master? The 3 stand in sync. Gander salutes with a closed fist to his chest. Orders, sire? Alex walks forward calmly, the golden sunset casting his shadow long across the polished stone beneath his boots. He glances briefly to the side at Carnessa, who's still quietly taking in the sight of the vast army and the monsters kneeling before him. "I'm just passing by here," he says, voice casual. "But before that," he gestures slightly with his hand toward Carnessa. "This is Carnessa. She's very talented, and has an innate ability to control blood." Lysaria's head tilts, a flicker of interest passing through her gaze. "Innate ability?" she repeats, a smile forming at the corner of her lips. "That's amazing, Your Majesty. Your adventure this time seems very fruitful. Congratulations." Mazel, however, steps forward with a gleam in his eyes, grinning from ear to ear. "Blood, huh? That's got combat written all over it." He thumps one of his axes against the ground. "Your Majesty, let me train her. I swear the next time you see her, she'll be a completely different person." Carnessa's eyes widen slightly at the offer, unsure if she should feel honored or afraid. Alex looks to her briefly, then back to Mazel. "Then I'll leave it to you." Mazel grins wider and pounds his chest once. "Thank you, Your Majesty." Gander, as always, remains composed, though he glances at Carnessa with a flicker of analytical interest, already assessing her potential as part of the king's inner circle. Zanson crosses his arms beside her, still stunned by everything but keeping quiet for now. Alex turns back toward the heart of the city, his voice steady. "Let's head inside. I want a full report." The monster commanders fall into step behind him at once, with Carnessa and Zanson trailing just a bit farther back, still overwhelmed by the scale and gravity of what they've just walked into. Carnessa watches Alex's back again, heart pounding. And for the first time, she realizes just how far above her he truly stands. Alex stays only for a few hours in Clago City, just enough to hear the latest reports, issue orders, and speak privately with his commanders. When everything is settled, he steps toward the portal chamber, motioning for Zanson to follow. Carnessa watches them go, a strange mix of awe and determination in her chest as Mazel cracks his knuckles beside her. Then, light bends inward as the teleportation gate activates. A deep hum resonates through the air, and with a single step, Alex and Zanson vanish from Clago City. In the next instant, they arrive at Noctaris. A blast of cool, fresh air greets them, carried by powerful winds that swirl between massive floating islands suspended in the sky by ancient, humming cores. Vast crystalline towers rise like spears of light, some wrapped with vines of bioluminescent flora, while bridges made of translucent stone arc between sky islands, each bustling with activity. Below, the city sprawls across tiered cliffs, rivers of silver light flowing through channels in the streets. Towering spires stretch into the sky. Zanson's jaw drops the second he takes a step forward. Is this your capital city? He asks, blinking rapidly. Look at that. Look at that. Floating islands? How is that even possible? He spins slowly, trying to take everything in. His usual casual posture replaced with quiet awe. This makes the imperial capital look like a backwater village. Alex doesn't respond right away. He just walks forward, the black and gold hem of his coat fluttering slightly in the breeze. Then he glances over his shoulder. You'll have plenty of time to explore the city. Zanson snaps out of his daze, straightening instinctively. His voice is quieter now, more respectful. Yeah, right. Of course. Alex nods once, satisfied. For now, we'll head to the smithing building. Zanson furrows his brow. The smithing building? A knowing smirk plays on Alex's lips. You'll be even more surprised by what you see there. They walk across a radiant skybridge, the glowing veins beneath their feet pulsing in rhythm with the city's mana. Zanson stays a step behind now, not because he's told to, but because he understands. He's no longer walking beside just a man. He's walking behind a king. Alex and Zanson cross a bridge of silver steel, its surface humming faintly beneath their steps. The entrance to the smithing building looms ahead, an obsidian archway reinforced with glowing red runes. Heat pulses gently from inside, along with the rhythmic ring of metal on metal. As the doors part, Zanson instinctively squints against the sudden wash of light and heat. Then his eyes widen. The interior is massive, multiple levels of forges, anvil stations, suspended platforms powered by levitation glyphs, and an array of unfamiliar devices scattered across workbenches. Some hiss with steam, others hum with magic or crackle faintly with lightning. Tools that Zanson has never seen before glow in neatly organized racks. Molten metals are suspended midair, shaped by force fields alone. And there, at the center of it all, commanding the space like a warlord in a battlefield, is Brumak. The massive minotaur-like blacksmith roars as he brings his hammer down on a length of radiant steel. Sparks erupt like fireworks. His horns gleam beneath the forge light, and his apron is scorched but clean. The mark of Tier 5 glows faintly on the bracer strapped to his arm. As if sensing something, Brumak turns. When he spots Alex, he immediately grins. A deep, rumbling sound coming from his chest. Then he drops his hammer with a loud thud and strides forward. Your Majesty! Brumak bows with a heavy fist over his heart. I didn't expect you back so soon. Alex gives him a brief nod. I see you've advanced. Tier 5, huh? Brumak grins wider, showing a row of flat, burnished teeth. Thanks to the blueprint you left behind, and the Tier 5 smithing technique. That thing changed everything. Zanson steps in closer, still gawking. What the hell is this place? Brumak's ears flick, noticing him for the first time. He glances at Alex. A new recruit? He rumbles. Alex nods slightly, then says with calm pride, he's a new recruit. Yes, but he's also a Tier 6 blacksmith. Brumak blinks. The realization takes a beat to land. Then his eyes widen. Wait, a Tier 6? He straightens immediately, tone shifting with genuine respect. Well damn, nice meeting you, sir. We finally have a Tier 6 in our ranks. Zanson chuckles lightly, scratching the back of his neck. You're a talent yourself. I heard you were just Tier 4 a few months ago. Brumak grins at that, clearly pleased. That's true. His Majesty's resources changed everything for us. The two begin talking in earnest, Zanson's curiosity already drawing him to the glowing equipment, and Brumak eager to show off the forge's latest innovations. The hum of the machines grows louder behind them as they drift toward the nearest table. Alex watches the exchange for a moment, then turns. I'll go now, he says simply, his voice cutting cleanly through the air. Zanson, Brumak, I still have things to take care of. Brumak straightens immediately and bows. Of course, Your Majesty. Zanson pauses mid-step, then turns back and nods, more respectful now than ever. Thanks for bringing me here. Really. Chapter 239. Reviving 3 Peak Tier 6. The air hums with silent pressure. Strange golden crystals pulse softly across the walls. Runes shift and drift above the obsidian floor in glowing constellations. In the center of the chamber stands a wide, circular altar, half-ritual platform, half-technological interface, bathed in flickering blue light. Alex stands alone before the altar, hands calmly at his sides. His golden eyes stare at the floating transparent screen hovering silently in front of him, filled with neatly arranged lists, numbers, and glowing names. In the corner of the screen, a counter shows gold, 243,526,726 coins. Tier 6 subordinates revived, 3/50. Remaining, 47. Alex swipes one hand gently to the side. The list filters. Filter applied. Peak Tier 6 only. Displaying, 20 remaining. 10 names illuminate, each followed by rows of stats and brief descriptions. 1. Zurich the Abyss Hell. Race Void Warg. Element Void. Traits: Master of Spatial Tearing and Dimensional Distortion. Excels in assassination and silent battlefield disruption. Known for appearing behind enemies before they blink. Revival cost: 70 million gold. 2. Gratham Ironsurge. Race: Magma Troll. Element: Magma. Traits: Wields volcanic weaponry, impervious to heat, can create localized eruptions from under his feet. A walking siege engine. Revival cost: 70 million gold. 3. Virila the Stormrend. Race: Sky Serpent. Element: Wind. Traits: Swift Aerial Master, manipulates battlefield weather, can strike enemies from miles above. Her wings can shatter sound itself. Revival cost: 70 million gold. 4. Halgrim Boneharrow. Race: Ghoul Centaur. Element: Death. Traits: Necrotic Charger. Raises dead terrain-bound corpses into skeletal cavalry. Body is covered in petrified bone armor. Revival cost: 70 million gold. 5. Ishava the Bloomveil. Race: Fey Matron. Element: Illusion. Traits: Mistress of Enchanting Fields. Can turn battlefields into hallucinated wonderlands, luring enemies to their deaths with beauty. Revival cost: 70 million gold. 6. Vokrin Deepflesh. Race: Leviathan Spawn. Element: Water/acid. Traits: Amphibious Juggernaut. Melts armor with acidic tides. Flesh constantly regenerates. Feared in naval warfare. Revival cost: 70 million gold. 7. Marigol Voidtongue. Race: Abyss Djinn. Element: Dark Flame. Traits: Speaks flames into being. His words ignite reality. Can unmake enchantments and devour spells. Revival cost: 70 million gold. 8. Dragosh Hellroot. Race: Infernal Treant. Element: Nature. Traits: Towering monster with roots of magma. Burns forests to grow stronger. Can bind enemies in thorns. Revival cost: 70 million gold. 9. Soraka the Moonblight. Race: Lunar Beast. Element: Ice/Light. Traits: Moves silently in moonlight. Freezes enemies with light-based magic. Can bend light into illusions. Revival cost: 70 million gold. 10. Threshold of the Glass Flame. Race: Crystal Dracovian. Element: Fire. Traits: Body made of enchanted crystal. Breathes refracted flame that can pierce magic shields. Revival cost: 70 million gold. Alex's eyes scan the remaining names as the list scrolls slowly past. One after another, powerful monsters. Each with terrifying abilities. Each worthy of commanding legions. The revival altar hums softly, almost like it's waiting. He pauses the scroll with a flick of his finger, letting the rest of the Peak Tier 6 entries settle in front of him. His golden eyes narrow. So many monsters, he mutters under his breath. But I can't afford to bring them all back. Not yet. He glances briefly at the floating counter. Gold, 243,526,726 coins. Enough for 3. He crosses his arms, lost in thought for a moment. Zurich's perfect for ambushes and stealth strikes. But on open battlefields, he trails off, considering. Gratham's raw power could tear fortresses in half. Alex inhales slowly, golden eyes locked onto the name glowing at the top of the list. I should revive Zurich, he murmurs. His voice echoes faintly in the chamber, swallowed by the ever-humming energy of the altar. The shadows don't have a true leader right now. Alex continues, swiping his hand and confirming the selection. Zurich will fill that void perfectly. No one's better at battlefield disruption or silent elimination. The screen pulses. Confirm revival? Zurich the Abyss Howl. 70 million gold. Alex nods once. Confirm. A deep vibration trembles through the floor as the altar glows with blinding violet light. Void-colored sigils spiral upward like smoke. The temperature drops, the air distorting unnaturally around the summoning platform. Then he appears. A rift tears open in midair with a soundless rip, like reality being sliced apart. From its steps a towering, obsidian-furred beast, shaped like a monstrous wolf but far larger, standing upright like a man. His claws drip with shadows, his eyes a shifting storm of violet and black. Void energy clings to his body like living armor, constantly phasing in and out. Zurich's snarl is low and distorted, his voice deep and echoing as if coming from multiple places at once. Master, he rasps, bowing on one knee. I have heard your call, and returned. Alex doesn't reply. He just gives a short nod and moves to the next. He stares at Gratham Ironsurge's profile for a moment longer. He's a monster in siege warfare, loud, but reliable, Alex says, narrowing his eyes. And right now, I need someone who can crush lines and tear down strongholds. He swipes again. Confirm revival? Gratham Ironsurge. 70 million gold. Confirm. A heavy thud shakes the chamber. Then a second. The third. The air grows thick with heat, and the platform turns molten red. A silhouette rises through it like a volcano giving birth to a god. Gratham emerges, his hulking frame covered in cracked obsidian-like skin glowing with magma veins beneath. His arms are thicker than tree trunks, each carrying a massive hammer made from cooled lava and steel. Molten breath escapes from his flared nostrils. He stomps forward and slams a fist across his chest. The flames respond to his motion, roaring upward behind him. Rarjh, finally. Back in the world of blood again. He laughs. Then he spots Alex and grins with fiery tusks. You brought me back, Your Majesty. I'll shatter anything you point at. Alex doesn't smile, but his gaze hardens with intent. Good, he says. I plan to. Then his eyes fall to the last choice. He already knows who it is. Virila, he murmurs. For a moment he hesitates. His hand hovers just above the confirmation sigil, suspended in silent tension. I want the others too, he admits softly. Marigal Ishava, even Soraka. Any of them could change the course of this war. But he draws a slow breath and lets it out. But this trio will change it now. His hand drops. Confirm revival? Virila the Stormrend. 70 million gold. Confirm. The moment he says it, the entire chamber responds. Violently. A deafening, high-pitched whine cuts through the air as wind suddenly explodes outward from the altar in a spiral. Runes are torn from their positions, swirling into the center like a storm's eye. Lightning forks between the crystals on the ceiling, and the glow of the altar shifts from red to a searing white. Clouds condense from nothingness above the platform, spiraling into a miniature thunderhead that pulses with skyborn rage. A streak of azure lightning crashes downward into the center, and from the impact, a long, sinuous shape coils into view. Virila the Stormrend descends. Her body is sleek and massive, like a serpent forged from wind and storm. Feathers run along the length of her spine, pale silver at the tips, deep cobalt near the base, each one glowing faintly with raw current. Her wings stretch wide as she coils through the air above the altar. Enormous, semi-transparent constructs of wind and light that shimmer like prismatic glass. Virila lowers herself gently from the air, her wings folding in with graceful tension. Sparks drift around her like lazy fireflies, and the hum of the altar begins to fade. The moment her serpentine form touches the ground, she bows her head low. Then, without hesitation, she coils into a kneeling posture, her chest near the floor, tail wrapped behind her in a disciplined spiral. Alex steps forward, looking down at the three. Their auras storm, fire, and void radiate like suns compressed into bodies. Yet here they are, kneeling to him. "Raise, you three," Alex says quietly. "Welcome back." The three rise in near-perfect unison, the synchronization born of ancient campaigns and countless blood-soaked victories. "Thank you, Your Majesty," they say together, three distinct voices layered into a single statement of loyalty. "I need your strength right now," he says, tone sharp and clear. "We're at war. A full-scale invasion." Chapter 240, Virila in the move. A flash of gold light envelopes Alex. He teleports. The air folds in around him and reforms with a snap. Alex appears in the center of his private training ground, the floor gleaming with obsidian tiles, etched with shifting runes that respond faintly to his presence. Pillars of glowing crystal line the walls, and a gentle breeze, artificial, yet sharp, whispers through the chamber like the breath of some ancient force. At the far end of the room, Ruva is already in motion. The girl darts forward, her twin short swords slicing through the air in swift, elegant arcs. The Tier 4 dummy in front of her, shaped like a six-armed shadow beast, lunges with unnatural speed, but she ducks under the strike, her long braid whipping around as she channels a sudden gust of wind beneath her boots. Whoosh! She flips over the next strike, then sweeps her blades upward, riding a blade of wind that cuts through the dummy's center, staggers, shimmer flickers, and resets its stance. Alex watches her quietly for a moment. The control, the speed, the instincts, all far beyond her age. But there's still a gap. "Too slow on the third dodge," Alex says calmly. Ruva gasps and stumbles a little, twisting midair and landing in a crouch. She blinks twice, then beams as she spots him. "Big brother," she calls, bounding up to him, face glowing with joy and sweat. "I didn't sense you come in. You didn't even ripple the wind." She pouts playfully, wiping her forehead with a wrist guard. "I did," he says, and offers a small nod. "Your movement's sharper. The air blades are cleaner now." She brightens at the praise, but he continues. "But you're relying too much on reflex. Your first two dodges were instinct. The third needed planning." She scowls a little, then nods seriously. "You're right. I felt it too. I hesitated." Alex places a hand on her head, ruffling her slightly damp hair. "Not bad, Ruva," he says. Ruva grins. "Thank you," she says, puffing out her chest. "Big brother adopted me. That means I can't embarrass you." He gives a quiet chuckle. "You haven't. Not even once." They stand there a moment, the quiet hum of the training ground settling around them. Alex suddenly speaks, his voice low but clear. "Do you want to join the war?" Ruva blinks. Then her eyes widen like twin stars. "Big brother, I want," she bursts out, fists clenched with excitement. "I want to help. I'm ready." Alex watches her reaction carefully, then nods, arms crossed. "I've been thinking about it. Just staying here and practicing all day won't give you real experience." His golden eyes narrow slightly. "But the battlefield is different. It's brutal." Ruva nods fast, almost bouncing. "I know. But I won't lose. I'll listen. I'll stay sharp." Alex raises a hand. "I'm not sending you out empty-handed." With a flick of his wrist, a flash of silvery blue light forms in midair between them. From the glow, a pair of short swords materialize, sleek and curved, forged of dark steel with inlaid wind runes that shimmer like mist in sunlight. The blades hum softly, a faint breeze circling their edges. Ruva gasps. Whoa! These are Tier 4, Alex says. Wind-imbued, made for speed and precision. Perfect for someone like you. He holds one out to her. Ruva takes it reverently, both hands wrapping around the hilt. The moment her fingers close on it, the runes flare to life. It sings, she whispers, amazed. Alex nods once. Then he reaches into a pouch at his belt and withdraws a slender silver chain. Simple, but with a teardrop-shaped gem embedded in its center. The gem glows with a soft blue pulse, like a heartbeat. This, he says, holding it up, is more important than the swords. Ruva tilts her head. What is it? A safeguard, Alex says. If you're ever in mortal danger, it'll activate automatically. Her smile softens. She takes the necklace slowly, her eyes misting just a little. She murmurs, "Thank you, big brother." He fastens the chain around her neck himself, then steps back. "I won't always be nearby to protect you, Ruva. So until you're strong enough to stand alone, use every tool you can." She straightens, face serious now. "I will. I promise." The short swords rest comfortably at her hips. The necklace glows gently against her chest. And for the first time, she looks like a young warrior ready to step into the world. Back to the Ereborn continent. The sun rises lazily over Fitton City, casting golden rays across its stone-paved streets. Morning mist still clings to rooftops, but the usual hush of dawn is broken by cheers. People gather in the square, some still in sleep clothes, others clapping, crying, or laughing. The news spreads like fire. The Empire finally sent help. Not just mercenaries. An actual force from Imlan Kingdom. Real soldiers. Thank the heavens. Even though the Imlan Kingdom ranks last, among the 20 Empire's subordinate forces, it still stands leagues above the scattered kingdoms and independent factions struggling to resist the enemy advance. Its soldiers march in disciplined rows, armor glinting under the early sun. Their banners ripple. A silver falcon clawing skyward against a deep green field. At the head of the column rides a towering figure in full silver-red plate. His hair is snow-white, eyes a piercing bronze. Every step his warhorse takes seems to silence the crowd briefly, drawing awe and reverence. A bystander gasps, gripping her husband's arm. "That's a marshal." "He's Tier 6, someone whispers. "Not just Tier 6, says an old veteran nearby, his voice reverent. "He's high level. It's my first time seeing someone like that. High level Tier 6s. They're in a league of their own." As the mounted figure dismounts, he surveys the crowd. His gaze is calm, like a seasoned general used to the screams of battle and the silence that follows. One of the local city guards, visibly nervous, steps forward to greet him. "Marshal, we didn't expect." The man stammers slightly. Welcome to Fitton. We're honored to have your protection." The marshal removes his helmet. His sharp, chiseled features betray decades of war, but his voice is low and even. "I'm not here for honors. I'm here to hold the line." He glances to the west, where the distant skies burn with storm smoke. His voice hardens. "Gather your men. Prepare the defenses. This city won't fall while I stand." People erupt into cheers again. The crowd surges with energy. A child runs through the square with a toy sword, mimicking the soldiers. Women hand out bread and fruit to the arriving troops. The air feels different, charged not with fear, but hope. Then suddenly, the sky darkens. A soundless pressure rolls through the air, heavy and unnatural. The light fades not like sunset, but as if something enormous, unseen, has passed in front of the sun. Shadows stretch across the streets unnaturally long. Winds scream. What was once a pleasant morning breeze turns savage in seconds. Window shutters slam open, stalls overturn, banners are ripped from their poles. Soldiers stagger, eyes wide as their capes and cloaks thrash around them like living things. A nearby mage gasps, clutching his staff. That's not weather. From the west, above the blackened horizon, she descends. A colossal serpentine silhouette coils through the clouds, her silhouette jagged and radiant with stormlight. Varila the Stormrend rides a hurricane of her own making. Her feathers glint like silver knives, and her eyes burn with gleaming blue arcs, emotionless and predatory. Lightning forks down from the sky at random, striking rooftops, battlements, even the distant fields beyond the walls. A single gust of wind slams into the city gates, shattering the outer barricades like paper. The marshal's horse rears, panicking. The beast nearly throws him, but he lands in a crouch, hand on the ground to steady himself. He rises, eyes narrowing at the sight of the storm-born monstrosity overhead. What in the God's name is that? The marshal doesn't hesitate. His body rises slowly at first, then with accelerating force, until he's hovering midair, his crimson-plumed cape snapping violently in the wind. Aura surges around him like a wildfire, flaring red gold and forming a thin protective barrier against the swirling gales. Below, soldiers and citizens stare in awe. He points his sword toward the figure in the sky, Varila, who floats effortlessly amidst the storm, her pale silver hair flowing like mist, feathered wings of wind folded behind her shoulders. Her eyes, blue and ancient, glow like twin storm cores.